Shan is a regressor who just returned from a future where demons conquered the entire world. As the last survivor, he fought for years before finally taking down the Demon King in a suicidal explosion. But after a flash of blinding light, he wakes up in his old college dorm. Confused, he wonders if this is actually the afterlife. But looking out the window and seeing normal people standing around, slowly, he realizes. It finally hits him that his ultimate wish actually came true. Get this, he actually traveled 10 years back to his college days, and a mysterious floating hologram suddenly announces that his gluttony system is fully integrated. Staring out the window, he realizes he has exactly 3 years before the first demon lord, Wrath, descends. He remembers. This monster was the one responsible for everything that followed. Wrath literally kicked open the gates of hell, letting the other demon lords invade the human world one after another. Now, Shan decides he must locate where Wrath will appear and take him out before those gates can even open. Shaking off his thoughts, Shan focuses on the floating screen right beside him, which clearly shows his stats. He wonders if this is some game system, since he never had anything like it in his past life. Back then, he only had his awakened power, a rare gift that only 1 in 10,000 people possessed. The National Awakener University was built to recruit these talents, but when Shan was here the first time, he completely failed to awaken, becoming a regular target for bullies, which is why he just woke up in this infirmary. Suddenly, a panel opens. It is a lightning-type assassin card, which he instantly recognizes as his class from his previous life. He is startled, wondering if he awakened early this time. He wants to test it immediately, but before he can switch, his roommate and loyal friend Ma Long walks in. Ma Long is a weak E-rank flower chanter, wearing bandages on his face, who came to check if Shan is alright. Luckily, Ma Long cannot see the floating panels, making Shan realize they are visible only to him. His friend looks him over, shocked that all of Shan's wounds have vanished, wondering how a non-awakener is recovering faster than an awakened user. Shan remembers Ma Long from the past. His roommate actually awakened during their college days, yet he ended up as one of the weakest fighters and was brutally killed just 3 days after Wrath arrived. Shan just smiles. He is looking at his old friend again. Ma Long then reminds him that their crucial ranking test is tomorrow and they need to prepare. Ma Long feels bad for Shan, assuming he still has not awakened, but warns him this test is essential for graduation. Walking through the lively streets, Shan casually mentions it has been ages since he saw this many living people, which completely freaks out Ma Long. Shan knows that if he fails to act in this timeline, everyone here will suffer that same horrific fate again. He must train like crazy, but leveling up quickly in this world has a major problem. Right now, the only way for an awakener to gain experience and level up is by clearing monsters inside demon lairs. But there is a catch. Elite guilds lock them down. And here is the catch: weak outsiders like him have absolutely zero chance to level up. He studies his menu, wondering how he stacks up against everyone else. The authorities classify awakeners into official ranks, starting from E and climbing all the way up to S class. Shan knows that most academy students are stuck at E rank, with only a rare few ever reaching D rank. He glances over. He quietly chuckles to himself, confident that he is already on a completely different level. Suddenly, a ball flies out of nowhere and smashes right into Ma Long, shattering his glasses. It is the toxic bully Gong Chong and his lackey, the exact same guys who beat them both half to death yesterday. Gong Chong smirks, demanding to know why they did not bring drinks when they knew he was playing here. Ma Long quickly apologizes, ready to buy the drinks with his own cash. But Shan steps in and stops his friend, stating that Gong Chong is the one who needs to apologize. Facing his tormentor drags Shan right back into his worst memories of when they tried to drown him in a bathroom sink. Instead of feeling guilty, they claim they were only trying to force his awakening, stopping only after Shan finally blacked out. While Ma Long rushed to help him, the moment Gong Chong heard Shan speak, he came right back to inflict more pain. No more memories. Shan decides to teach these cheap bullies a lesson they will never forget. Hearing Shan speak up, Gong Chong and his lackey step forward, clearly ready to shut him up permanently. Chen stares right at Chung. He knows this punk only picks on the weak because his big brother is the student council president. When the bully steps up, other students crowd around, already feeling sorry for Chen and expecting him to get beaten half to death again. Once Chung gets close, he demands to know what Chen just said. Unfazed, Chen calmly tells him to stop bothering him from now on. Furious, Chung completely snaps, throwing a heavy punch straight at his face. But this time, Chen simply raises his fist, easily blocking the attack and shoving the bully backward. You can feel the shock in the air. Everyone knows Chen is supposedly unawakened, yet he just blocked that attack like nothing. Seething with rage, Chung charges in for another strike while Chen calmly prepares himself and switches to his electric assassin class. Long stands nearby, completely stunned. Chung activates his indestructible demon armor, charging forward with a heavy strike. But before he can even get close, Chen dashes in and blasts him away with a lightning-charged punch. Nobody can believe their eyes. The class weakling literally just sent the school bully flying with one single punch. Even after taking that brutal hit, Chung refuses to back down, screaming at his lackeys to step in and get revenge. But his lackeys are already shaking in fear after seeing what Chen just did. Chung struggles back to his feet and charges again, only to get instantly beaten down and slammed away without standing a single chance. Seeing their boss get absolutely crushed, the terrified lackeys realize they stand no chance and immediately run away. Long watches all of this unfold, completely lost for words. His jaw drops, struggling to accept that his roommate, who got beaten up just yesterday, is suddenly this ridiculously strong. Chen, however, realizes that just like in his past life, he can switch into his assassin state whenever he wants. Even at level 1, his base stats are high enough to easily handle low-level awakeners, meaning his current rank is at least D-class. But there is still one thing he needs to confirm. Even after defeating an enemy, the system has not given him a level up. Curious about how this works, Chen steps forward to finish the bully off, sending a wave of panic through the crowd. Right at the final second, the student council vice president, Ling Yu, steps in and tells Chen to stop right there. She points out that while Chung was clearly at fault, this level of beating is already more than enough punishment. Promising that the loud bully won't dare trouble him again, Chen finally decides to let him slide. While backing down, Chen quietly wonders why the student council is so desperate to step in and protect a punk like Chung. Now, you should know Chen was actually just putting on an act and never really planned to kill him. But he knows bullies like Chung must be punished properly, otherwise they will just keep targeting the weak. With that, Chen walks away with his roommate. Watching from the shadows, the bullies' lackeys hide and whisper among themselves, swearing they will never cross Chen ever again. That night, Long tries to explain how Chen awakened as an insanely strong lightning assassin, but their other roommates laugh it off completely. Long keeps explaining how their weak friend beat Chung half to death, but Xiang Zuo, an E-rank nucleus mage, just treats it like a joke. Xiang Zuo asks why Chen is still out there doing basic physical training if he is suddenly such a big deal. He argues that a true awakener has absolutely no need to rely on basic workouts like that anymore. Hearing this, their gamer roommate, Shang Yu, chimes in that it sounds like Long took a pretty hard blow to the head. Xiang Zuo continues, saying the four of them are in this trash dorm because they are the weakest students and nothing will change that. He even claims that he is the strongest of the bunch, while Long and Shang Yu are just useless support chanters. Flexing a bit, he tells himself there is simply no way Chen could have actually become a lightning assassin. Feeling incredibly confident, he hopes to somehow rank up during the final graduation test coming up tomorrow. Over at an E-rank demon lair, the student council president, Gong Ting, finishes his training and walks out with Ling Yu. Spotting his little brother standing there, Gong Ting asks what he is doing. Chung complains that as long as his attacker is around, he cannot even sleep peacefully. Chung keeps pushing, desperately begging his powerful older brother to get revenge. Gong Ting calmly assures him that he will handle the mess. Later, sitting at the dining table, the vice president asks how he plans to deal with this. He simply asks her if this kid is really as strong as his brother claims. Ling Yu reminds Gong Ting that there are fewer than 10 D-ranked students in the entire school, and he has already recruited them all. She adds that normal students do not even have access to private demon lairs like he does, meaning no average student should stand a chance. Meanwhile, Chen keeps running like crazy, getting absolutely drenched in the heavy rain. He aims to run 20 full kilometers while lugging a heavy bag packed with 100 kilos, which is almost twice his own weight. He knows how crucial basic training is to push an awakener's physical limit, since a tougher body is needed to handle high-tier powers. Mid-run, he remembers his sweet sister, his only surviving family, who died when the Demon King Wrath invaded the human world. The beast slaughtered countless innocent people in seconds, and his sister breathed her last right before his eyes. Since that moment started the entire tragedy, slaying that Demon King becomes his ultimate goal. Chen knows the Demon Lord is already building massive power, even with 3 years left before he arrives. He must level up way faster if he wants any chance of winning. Talk about an emotional gut punch. His dead sister soon suddenly calls, and hearing her voice again leaves him completely frozen in silence. She cheerfully explains she couldn't call sooner because she was totally tied up with a big competition. Maybe they can finally pay their rent if she wins a prize, she adds. As she babbles on, Chen just quietly listens with a warm smile. A fierce vow takes root in his chest. He will protect her and give her a beautiful life this time around. Once the call drops, he gets right back to training, crushing 3 more laps around campus before heading straight to the locker room showers. He feels himself slowly adjusting to this younger, agile body and its massive potential to grow stronger. Resting afterward, he thinks about those exclusive demon lairs that only wealthy elites can enter. He must find a way to slay monsters if he wants to level up. Lost deep in thought, he drifts off to sleep and gets suddenly sucked into the Gluttony System. Waking up in a bizarre, desolate zone, he wonders if this is all some weird dream. Meanwhile, back in the real world, Long searches around for Chen, wondering where he vanished to. Inside the dark dimension, a colossal tower looms directly before Chen. But before he can even study it, a pack of low-tier rank E-clawed beasts called Death Hounds lunges out to greet him. Suspecting he somehow slipped into a real demon lair, Chen swiftly swaps his combat class, with these monsters jumping him suddenly. He decides to slaughter them first and ask questions later. He easily slices through the weak hounds since they are all bark and no bite, grabbing their dropped loot. He rapidly hits level 2 and grins, realizing he might have hit the jackpot by stumbling into this place. A massive boss monster spawns next, but Chen drops it just as effortlessly. He slices clean through it, triggering another level up. The juicy experience points from this boss easily dwarf what those trash mobs yielded earlier. Suddenly, the dead boss is marked with a devour prompt, leaving Chen quite confused. Recalling that gluttony skill on his system screen, he reaches his hand out to give it a test run. The absorption finishes instantly, locking the beast inside a glowing card. Chen is utterly stunned to realize he can convert dead monsters into playable classes. Now hold on. This is the exact same terrifying ability that the Demon Lord Lan Yu used. Sharing a signature power with a literal Demon Lord leaves him deeply unsettled. Normally, citizens get just one class, while elite prodigies might awaken two. But Chen, he can collect as many classes as his heart desires. He wonders how he unlocked this cheat code, and what that ominous tower looming ahead actually represents. As he ponders, a crushing pressure descends. A towering demon emerges brandishing dual S-rank blades. The monster radiates pure S-tier death, leaving Chen with zero hope of winning. Heavily outmatched and cornered, Chen still summons his crackling lightning sword to gamble his life in one final stand. Strangely, the massive demon standing right before him actually knows his name. The beast trades heavy strikes with Chen, but it is painfully obvious the creature is just toying with him. It deliberately misses his vitals, repeatedly slamming him into the dirt like a rag doll. After pushing Chen to absolute exhaustion, the demon finally speaks. He tells Chen he will spare him if he stays to guard this tower. Chen spits on the offer, so the demon brutally gashes his arm. The fiend threatens to end him. It says it only went easy because Chen is the sole human capable of reaching this chamber. It demands he reconsider one last time, but Chen refuses to surrender to despair. Rejecting the deal once more, he ignores the threat of death. He lets out a roar and lunges forward to attack the demon again. Throughout the clash, Chen was actively studying his opponent. He caught a 0.4-second delay right before every swing. He knows he can exploit that brief window to read the bend of the monster's wrist and dodge the attack perfectly. He also pinpointed a 0.2-second recovery gap where the demon is completely defenseless. He schemes to use that tiny opening to pierce its heart. Even if he executes this gamble, he knows a D-rank hunter like him cannot truly slay an S-rank beast. His actual goal is simply to stun the demon long enough to slip away to safety. He does just that, sprinting headfirst toward the only light in sight, desperate for a way out. But the moment he reaches it, poof, it completely vanishes. The Purgatory Rakshasa mocks him it was nothing but an illusion, and this place has absolutely no exit. This palace is not actually a demon Contigo. Finally, the beast reveals itself as the Purgatory Rakshasa. It looks at Chen, declaring he truly is their only hope. But taking a closer look at the demon's body, he completely freezes in shock. He recognizes this exact appearance. He saw it on the Demon Lord Lan Yu during that final, brutal clash before his regression. His final enemy back then was no normal monster. Mid-battle, the beast shifted its shape, transforming into a massive dragon. After that, it kept morphing into high-level terrors, wielding boiling magma, toxic vines, and lightning far more devastating than his own. Yet, out of all those terrifying forms, the one that really burned into his mind looked identical to this creature standing before him. Wait, it all clicks now. Every shift belonged to the Demon King Lan Yu. Since that power was absorbed into Chen, this creature is simply the manifestation of gluttony inside his own body. This sharp deduction genuinely impresses the monster, which calmly tells him he deserves to inherit this entire dimension's strength. Chen frowns, totally baffled by what that actually means. A golden void key manifests in the Purgatory Rakshasa's hand, the sole gateway in and out of the massive tower behind them. The beast explains that the Demon King Lan Yu devoured countless mighty monsters. Its sworn duty was guarding this tower containing the absolute strongest of them. But now, it hands the key over to him. The Purgatory Rakshasa wants him to consume those demons, grow stronger, and take over. Confused, Chen asks why a demon would help. It simply answers that even among demons, there is good and evil. A certain vile beast slaughtered its entire clan purely for sport. Since then, it has lived only to exact its bloody revenge. Now, it knows it has finally found the one to fulfill that wish. It tells our boy that someone was right, he is their ultimate hope. Chen instantly presses who was that person. Speaking like a mysterious, ancient sage, the beast whispers that all answers await inside the tower. With its final breath, it offers him its entire remaining power. In exchange, he must become the absolute strongest human walking this planet, devouring every wild beast trapped in that tower. That's how it gives one last warning: only a soul with an insatiable hunger to grow deserves the Purgatory Rakshasa's power. That burning drive is what he needs to wipe out every single Demon King. With that, the Purgatory Rakshasa dissolves into a brilliant, fiery sphere of energy for Chen to absorb. Instantly, Chen levels up 8 times and obtains twin Purgatory Rakshasa swords. Accepting the quest without hesitation, he vows to fulfill the fallen warrior's dying wish. Besides massive stat boosts, he unlocks gravity control and the ability to drain power from deceased humans and demons alike. The next morning, his eyes slowly drift open, waking up back in his dorm room like any normal day. He jumps right up as a loud, booming voice echoes through the small dorm. His roommates are already packing up, yelling at him to move it if he wants to make class. Feeling totally fine, he wonders if all that madness was just a wild dream. But look at those updated stats. Yep, every bit of it actually happened. Leaping from level 2 straight to level 10 overnight, he wonders what rank he actually is now. His roommate immediately starts teasing him, laughing about how someone was shamelessly bragging last night about how incredibly strong he supposedly became. Across the room, Malong quietly peeks over, pretending he has absolutely nothing to do with it. Either way, his roommate challenges him to prove it during the upcoming ranking test. That trial will decide who keeps the title of Dorm King. On their walk, the self-proclaimed king proudly boasts that each rank has 3 distinct tiers. So, even though they are all E ranks, he is at least a proud mid-tier, placing him way above the bottom-feeding losers. He struts around acting superior because the gap between sub-ranks is supposedly massive. Hyped up and completely full of himself, the guy claims his power surged so much he probably leveled up since yesterday. Super annoyed, Malong tells our boy to quit slacking and push himself to secure a D rank today. Hopefully, that will finally make the loudmouth Dorm King shut his mouth. Arriving at school, they find students gathered nervously for the ceremony. Suddenly, the local bullies stroll in like they own the place, tossing insults left and right. The second they show up, even the Dorm King's cocky smile completely vanishes. Even those bullies lose their nerve, immediately bowing down to Big Brother Chen without a single second thought. His roommates are finally starting to realize that Malong was actually right all along. Chen just ignores those bullies to mind his own business, but then another student steps right in front of him. It is Jian, a student council officer who acts like a school cop, giving Chen a very polite warning. Turns out, the student council president personally sent him to punish the guy who dared touch his precious little brother. Chen's friends scatter and hide in an instant, completely terrified of Jian, the enforcer who handles all the dirty work for the president. His roommates cannot figure out why this powerful D-rank monster is targeting Chen like this. Stepping right into Chen's personal space, the president's loyal follower brags that his incredible sense of smell lets him judge exactly how strong someone is. And right now, all he can smell on Chen is a weak, pathetic loser. Amused by the insult, Chen fires back instantly, and Shane completely loses his mind the moment he gets called a dog. But before a fight can actually break out, the overgrown pup's master orders him to stand down to avoid a public scene. He dug around and quickly found out that his own brother started this whole fight. Getting beaten to a pulp was simply the cost of picking a fight way out of his league. Just look at that tension. The president shoots him a vicious look, but Chen is not intimidated one bit. Right then, a professor announces that the rank assessment ceremony is officially getting underway. As the speaker asks everyone to step forward when called, the president tells his lapdog that they are leaving. He assumes this was just a one-time incident and that Chen won't step out of line again after being warned. Watching from high above, a man curiously asks the vice president why she is personally attending the ranking ceremony today. Wondering if some specific rookie caught her eye, the lady just smiles faintly, noting that this year is going to get pretty wild. Soon, Shanghai is called up. The self-proclaimed Dorm King feels a bit nervous as he steps through the gateway. The atmosphere completely shifts on the other side. Every single assessment is done one by one inside a creepy demon lair. Inside, a raw demon heart hooked up to wires measures an awakener's rank and potential by absorbing their spiritual energy. When they unleash their full power, the signal transfers right back to Earth, revealing the final assessment results. 0 change. The Dorm King's rank turns out to be exactly the same as before. But the professor looks confused when the potential score takes longer than expected, and Malong stares intently at those shifting numbers. A total letdown. After all that massive buildup, Shanghai's maximum potential is revealed to be a measly C. He realizes his supposed progress was all just a delusion, so his roommates try comforting him, saying they are all in the exact same boat. After all, they're stuck at E- rank, with the potential to reach C rank at the absolute best. Shortly after, the president's loyal lapdog struts out proudly, scoring a lower D rank with the rare potential to climb all the way to A rank. Chen's roommates start completely losing hope since they've already watched nearly 10 other students easily reach D rank. Even the professors are shocked by how many hit D rank, since it is extremely rare to break past E- without real combat experience. With excitement buzzing through the air, they call up the next student, the highly anticipated president himself, carrying everyone's expectations. Every eye turns to Gong Ting, the legendary student who is already an official guild master. As the president walks onto the stage, Chen remains completely calm, patiently waiting for the outcome. Everyone at this academy knows that just 2 years ago, Gong Ting was barely a lower D rank. With the school's all-time record sitting at middle D rank, everyone wonders if he will finally shatter that ceiling. Deep inside the demon lair, the demon heart slowly opens its eyes to his overwhelming presence. He holds back, unable to unleash everything he has. Still, he burns with a desire to graduate with a massive bang, permanently carving his name into the history books. When the professors see his potential grade glowing bright gold, they blink in pure disbelief. Honestly, it is hard to believe Gong Ting's high D rank blows everyone away, and the crowd completely loses it when they see the first potential S rank in history. The president's loyal lackeys praise their amazing boss non-stop. Even Chen's roommates burn with envy as they watch this legendary moment unfold right before them. The professors quickly agree that this mind-blowing news has to be sent to high administration immediately. They have to protect this precious S-rank genius, making sure he never leaves the country. On top of that, he is the absolute youngest student in academy history to ever be recruited by a guild. Their school is absolutely guaranteed to dominate the front page headlines now. Principal Yuan Long watches from above, realizing Vice President Ling Yu already knew all about Chen's potential. That is exactly why she showed up in person to watch this ceremony. But she makes things way more interesting by revealing he is not the only target today. Beside the flashy president, there is another student she finds far more intriguing. Right on cue, that exact student is the very next one called onto the stage. Jean gets a bright idea and decides to mock the school legend, warning him not to end up as E-rank trash like his roommates. He sneers that they will become a total laughingstock, calling it disgraceful for them to even show up at such a prestigious event. Long backs his friend up and boldly claims he is going to blow everyone away. The crowd watches with bated breath. Chen finally steps into the demon lair, and the demon heart instantly feels intense pressure as he approaches. Chen recalls that the absolute best way for any awakener to secure a solid future is to join a high-ranking guild. He knows he must perform incredibly well during the upcoming graduation combat assessment. Candidates must choose their own members to form a 10-person squad. Whichever squad grabs first place gets directly recruited into the nation's top-tier Imperial Guild, making the goal of this test crystal clear. Jean starts recruiting and quickly introduces another low-tier D rank to his boss. He proudly claims their party is complete. He explains they already have all the D ranks plus the president's brother on their team, so there is no way they lose first place. Jean knows elites will naturally team up to form squads, leaving the weak to do the exact same. This sets up a brutal survival of the fittest environment where the weak are quickly eliminated. As time ticks by, Long grows anxious because the screen is not changing. The crowd quickly assumes Chen is so weak the system cannot even register him. Jian tells Ting that the rest of these students are just garbage, so they should leave instead of wasting any more time. But check this out, right as they turn to leave, the screen suddenly flickers and displays a high D rank rating, throwing the entire crowd into chaos as pure shock spreads across every face. The president and the student council also look on in total disbelief at this unexpected twist. Soon, the system detects a bizarre shift in the data. It turns out Chen is just testing how his level 10 base stats in his normal human form translate under evaluation. After seeing that D rank, he switches his class to the Infernal Death King, his weakest devoured class so far. Instantly, his rating jumps from high D to mid C, completely blowing everyone away. The student council struggles to believe the machine is even working properly anymore. Even the scientists are baffled, wondering why the ratings keep shifting like this. They quickly start to suspect the machine might be completely broken. And here is where things get crazy. The demon heart suddenly becomes completely unstable. Chen notices the shift and decides to activate a stronger class, transforming into the Purgatory Ruwasa. The demon heart panics as a violent storm starts brewing right outside the demon lair. Jian shouts in complete confusion, treating this storm like a cosmic sign that history is rewriting itself, as if their dorm just produced a literal divine monster. Next thing they know, his potential hit S rank, completely stunning the scientists and President Ting. Then, a warning pops up. The user's potential exceeds the maximum load, making it impossible to detect under these current limits. Jean's brain completely short-circuits, like a blue screen of death, and his soul practically leaves his body from shock. As the system begins tearing apart under the massive pressure, the panicked scientists rush in to protect the student. But the moment they arrive, they freeze in total shock. They find a shriveled little raisin where the demon heart used to be, completely fried from extreme overuse. It seems Chen might have scared the poor thing quite a bit too much. Still, he ends up devouring the remains, gaining the power to see anyone's rank and receive warnings about nearby danger. He steps out of the demon lair and is pleasantly surprised when everyone's rank floats right in front of his eyes. But then he quickly notices that President Ting has actually hidden his true potential, turning out to be nothing more than a pretty mediocre C rank at best. The scientists walk out awkwardly and announce to everyone that the demon heart literally suffered a heart attack from extreme strain. Because of this, they have to suspend the testing. They label Chen's stats as a probable error and state a full report will be sent to the higher-ups. The remaining students are told to head home and return tomorrow, since a brand new testing device will be ready by then. On the walk back, after that legendary stunt in front of the crowd, Chen's roommates treat him like an absolute hero. But Jian? He clearly can't handle his jealousy. He calls Chen a complete fraud, demanding compensation for the broken machine and wasting the council's precious time. Actively playing the sore loser, Jian pushes Chen to his limits. But just as Chen prepares to destroy him on the spot, Ting steps in and immediately calls Jian out. The president sternly warns him not to disrespect their teammate, which completely leaves Jian in shock. Then Ting extends his hand, formally inviting this newly revealed powerhouse to join his elite team. He confidently promises that together, they will definitely shatter the school record. Meanwhile, Jian starts panicking in the background. He knows someone has to get kicked off the team to make room for Chen, which would definitely cause massive trouble with the brothers. Let's be real, joining Ting's team basically guarantees them that first-place trophy. It makes him wonder what makes Chen so damn special, especially since others couldn't even bribe their way in, no matter what. Swallowing his pride, Jian slowly welcomes Chen to the squad, placing a very hesitant hand on his shoulder. Chen instantly slaps his hand away, coldly stating that he has absolutely zero interest in joining them. This bold move makes Jian break out in a cold sweat, while Ting just watches in silence. Jian snaps at him, yelling that Chen has no idea what he is rejecting since their squad is the best in school. But Chen simply turns his back and walks off. He says it is none of their business, calling their little group far too noisy to deal with. He tells them straight up not to bother him again. As Jian boils with rage, the entire school starts buzzing about the crazy rejection. Most students assume he is planning to grab first place all by himself now that he's revealed his C rank. Honestly, the rest of the student body is just loving the massive drama unfolding right in front of them. Chen's roommates are absolutely loving the utterly humiliated looks on Jian and Ting's faces after such a public shutdown. The president stays perfectly calm, telling Jian not to worry if Chen has other plans. Nearby, the principal sighs in disappointment. He had really hoped these top prodigies would team up and work together to smash the school's old record. But Ling points out that things are actually much more interesting this way. She explains that since Ting grew up rich and heavily spoiled, he will definitely take this refusal as a declaration of war. She reminds the principal that their proud president is not a guy you want to cross once his ego gets bruised. Jian keeps whining, claiming Chen only has a massive ego because a glitch showed he was a C rank, but Ting hints the result is real. He admits that even if it is unlikely, he can't let anyone steal his top spot. Jian then remembers Chen is just an ordinary student. On the flip side, the council members are elites who secretly trained inside a demon lair to grow strong. He suggests teaching the rude brat a lesson. Ting cuts him off, asking if he really thinks their president is that petty. Realizing his massive slip-up, Jian quickly apologizes. Ting then cancels their planned karaoke night, telling Jian to deal with the situation all by himself. He coldly adds that whatever Jian decides to do has absolutely nothing to do with him. Jian gets the hidden message instantly. Shortly after, a spy approaches Jian with a report. He reveals that Chen has already left school to head back home. He mentions that Chen left without even stopping to grab a bite, making things incredibly easy. Jian grins at his luck. And believe me, he's totally thrilled to jump Chen outside school grounds, where nobody can save him. While crossing the street, Chen recalls a horrific disaster from his past life, when a top guild tried clearing a demon lair in St. He. Deep inside that lair, they encountered a terrifying beast named Wrath. It wiped out their entire elite squad without them landing a single blow. Afterward, the monster broke out into the human world, unleashing total devastation wherever it went. Even though his memories of the event are quite blurry, Chen is determined to track down that exact demon lair in this lifetime. To put his plan into motion, Chen needs a ton of cash. He heads straight for the Mythil Monster Exchange Center. He recalls that in the near future, this very place will become the grandest trading hub in the entire country. In this universe, an Awakener's power relies heavily on their top-tier gear and weapons, and this exchange is the ultimate marketplace to trade them. But to Chen, this place is nothing more than a quick stop to pocket some easy cash before chasing his ultimate goals. Walking inside, he presents a handful of monster fangs to the broker, who inspects them closely with an incredibly suspicious look. The broker asks how a simple student managed to get such items. Chen calmly replies that they dropped from a beast he recently defeated. The broker is stunned, claiming he has never seen such unique fangs. Suddenly, his assistant steps up, explaining they come from an E-class Sangan beast. She points out that these fangs are perfect for crafting an E-grade weapon, or they can be ground down for various other uses. The arrogant broker cuts her off, dropping the monster fang back onto the table. He sneers that an E-grade item is pretty much worthless, bragging their shop is strictly for VIPs. They only deal with high-status awakeners and D-grade items, using that excuse for not recognizing the E-grade piece. Internally, he grumbles about the lack of wealthy customers coming in lately. Helping some low-tier student won't get him promoted, so he calls Chen a nuisance, dumping the chore on Lee before walking off. Lee politely hands Chen an envelope of cash, asking if he needs help with anything else. Chen checks the cash to find 18 grand, deciding it is easily enough to pay his rent stress-free. He then pulls out the glowing greatsword from the Purgatory Rakshasa, instantly catching Lee's complete attention. Though she has never seen anything like it, she guesses it is at least B-grade or maybe even A-grade. The broker strolls back and laughs at her guess, claiming A-grade gear costs at least 1 million. Working here for years, he claims he has never seen A-grade gear in person, just as the shop owner arrives. The boss calmly states the weapon is neither A-grade nor B-grade, and the broker instantly praises his smart judgment. He smugly agrees a mere student could never own such a treasure, but the owner reveals it comes from the Purgatory lands. He reveals it is actually an S-grade item, making both the broker and Lee freeze in shock. Seeing their faces drop is just beautiful. The owner immediately shakes Chen's hand, warmly welcoming him as an elite VIP guest. He invites Chen into the VIP room, telling him to ask for anything, leaving Chen highly satisfied. The owner, Qing Jir, finally shows up just as planned, and once inside, the guild boss asks how much Chen wants to sell it for. Chen immediately asks for 1 million, completely catching the green-haired boss off guard. The boss warns him that an S-grade weapon easily goes for tens of millions, but Chen explains he only wants to pawn the sword as collateral for a $1 million, 1-month loan. This leaves the boss even more shocked, realizing Chen is incredibly sharp and wondering who he actually is. Chen adds that he will return the principal in 30 days, paying off the interest the following month. Before replying, the guild boss tells Lee to wait outside so they can talk business in private. Once she leaves, he notes that Chen is a senior at the National Awakener University. He points out that the graduation test is in 30 days, and the grand prize is exactly 1 million. The boss then asks Chen directly if he is completely certain he will secure first place. The guild boss realizes that Chen desperately needs the cash and has clearly exhausted all his other options. Ultimately, he offers to lend Chen 1.5 million right now, completely interest-free. Extending his hand with a smile, he says this will be the start of a beautiful friendship. Chen is left speechless by this insanely generous offer, but the boss promises their deal stays strictly confidential. All he asks in return is for Chen to visit his guild first whenever he wants to trade. Chen notes that this guy easily figured everything out, yet never even tried to scam him. Now he sees why this boss becomes such a powerhouse later on, shaking his hand to secure a crucial ally against the Demon Lord. Within moments, the contract is signed and the money is instantly wired directly to his account. The boss then asks if he needs to borrow a weapon, since he just gave up his primary gear. Though they lack S-rank gear, they still have plenty of top-tier A-rank equipment for him to use. Chen tells him not to worry, casually summoning his other great sword. Honestly, seeing the guild members look so utterly stunned is epic. With that, Chen finally takes his leave. Immediately after, the boss promotes the pink-haired Lee to supervisor for bringing in such a high-end client. Before fully leaving, Chen turns back to buy something he forgot, and a few hours later, we find him at a bus stop. He remembers how in his past life, he struggled terribly to claw his way up while others treated him like trash. He worked endless shifts to make ends meet, living almost like a homeless person with his sister to survive each month. His sister, Yuan, managed to get into her dream university back then, but gave it up, claiming the campus was way too far from her brother. But in reality, she was just afraid of placing a heavier financial burden on him. Returning to the present, he wonders why she hasn't shown up yet, scanning the crowd. Just then, a voice calls out, calling him stupid for checking the entrance instead of the exit. It's Yuan pulling her huge suitcase. She drops the bad news they are flat broke again because rent just drained all their cash. But Chen just stands there completely frozen. It has been 7 long years since he last saw her face. Meanwhile, she is just complaining about her heavy bags. When he doesn't answer, she waves her hand in front of his face to wake him up. That's when Chen suddenly rushes forward, pulling her into a tight, desperate hug. After a few awkward seconds, she pokes his ribs to break free, yelling at him for almost squeezing the life out of her. She points out he has been acting pretty weird lately, teasingly asking if his school crush finally rejected him, but he quickly plays it cool. They head home together as she keeps talking non-stop about her upcoming school exams. Even so, Chen's just incredibly happy to listen to her babble. He promises himself that in this life, he'll protect her at all costs, but get this. Trouble is already waiting around the corner in a dark alley. Once they confirm Chen is heading their way, their leader, Jian, orders everyone to stay hidden so they can launch a surprise ambush together. Wearing a twisted smirk, Jian whispers to himself that he's definitely going to make Chen pay for what he did. One of his lackeys gets nervous, asking if things will get bad if they take it too far. The Cloud Assassin sneers, saying he originally just wanted to teach the guy a quick lesson, but their last meeting really set him off. Remembering how Chen completely humiliated him, he tells his crew to save the best parts for him, swearing to hand our hero some brutal payback. Jian brags about being the finest Cloud Assassin in the business, practically drooling as he imagines the absolute despair on Chen's face. Walking side by side, Yoon points out his strange behavior again, wondering if all the exam stress is finally getting to his head. She shrugs it off with a laugh, teasing that a weakling like him shouldn't be overthinking. After all, he is the one who always said to keep moving forward and let fate handle the rest. Trying to cheer him up, she loudly hums a motivational tune just as they turn into the quiet alley. Chen is genuinely surprised she read his moods so easily. Of course, she still has no idea about his crazy awakened powers or his massive new bank account. When he smiles and says he's totally fine, she jokingly asks if that is just his fragile male pride talking. Yoon shakes her head, quietly thinking to herself that her brother is finally growing into a real man. Behind them, a thug whispers to Jian that their target is walking with a girl. Jian gets extremely excited, knowing this blind spot has 0 cameras to catch them, but Chen instantly senses their malicious aura, immediately recognizing these scumbags as the punks from the student council. Pulling out some wireless earbuds, he gently tucks them into Yun's ears. He tells her to check out this sweet new track he's been loving lately. It surprises her since he never listens to music, but she humors him anyway. As she listens, Chen turns around, sending a lethal glare at the thugs creeping up behind them. With the music completely blocking out her world, the thugs rush forward and here's where it gets crazy. Chen instantly activates his deadly lightning class. He lost his sister for 7 agonizing years, and there is no way he's losing her again. Boiling with absolute rage, he wonders how these random trash cans found the nerve to touch her. Dashing forward like a bolt of raw lightning, he kicks the first thug so hard the guy flies, making the rest instantly break a sweat. Chen channels his energy, dropping 3 guys in a single flash, before shattering the 4th with a brutal, crushing knee strike. One brave idiot tries to throw a punch, but Chen casually catches his hand and snaps it like dry spaghetti. The goon shrieks in agony, only to get a heavy fist slammed straight through his nose. Watching his entire squad get utterly folded, Jian freezes in sheer horror, wondering how Chen got this overpowered. But Chen doesn't slow down for a second, dishing out heavy blows as he carves a straight path toward the Cloud Assassin. As Chen corners him, Jian desperately tries to convince himself that as a top assassin, there is no way he can lose. Our hero quickly snaps him back to reality with a devastating blow that sends him flying, rushing forward to unleash a brutal combo that knocks several of Jian's teeth loose. The so-called elite assassin rolls violently across the pavement before slamming hard into a brick wall. Jian slowly looks up, only to find Chen staring down at him like an actual demon. Chen looks down at the defeated Jian, reminding this piece of trash that he was warned to stay far away. Staring straight into his soul, he coldly asks if this brainless scum can't comprehend basic human speech. Utterly destroyed and broken, the once arrogant thug can't even feel his legs. With half his bones completely shattered and realizing he messed with the absolute wrong monster, he barely manages to mumble a pathetic, trembling apology. But Chen instantly cuts him off, grabbing Jian's collar and pressing a cold dagger right against his cheek. Staring into Chen's eyes, the so-called top assassin sees it plain as day. There is absolutely 0 hesitation to kill. This is definitely not the aura of a normal high school kid. Jane can't help but wonder what kind of living hell could turn a man into a cold, terrifying monster like Chen. He is just dripping with pure malice. Chen tells the broken boy to remember his warning carefully if he wants to avoid another nightmare like this. He won't hesitate to tear them to shreds if they ever try anything stupid again. Laying down his final warning, he adds one last chilling threat. If they step within a mile of Uni, he will hunt down and erase everyone close to them. His message is delivered. He tosses his dagger aside, walking back to Uni before the song even ends. Meanwhile, his sister Uni is completely overwhelmed with raw emotion, crying over the painfully sad and incredibly lonely lyrics of the track. She weeps, heartbroken over what her brother must have endured to change so drastically. She even wonders if her support back then simply wasn't enough, so wiping her tears, she spins around, fully determined to give him a proper scolding. But she freezes mid-sentence the absolute second she sees the gift in his hand. That shiny gold-plated pen she always dreamed of owning is sitting right there. Uni flushes bright red with pure, overwhelming excitement. She can barely believe her big brother actually bought her the newest holographic magic pen. It costs more than their monthly rent, and her adorable reaction immediately warms Chen's heart. Her face makes it pretty obvious she doesn't want to return it, even if that's the smart move since they are hopelessly behind on rent. Clenching his fist behind his back, Chen silently swears to protect Uni's smile in this life and get her into her dream academy. Back at home, Uni happily spends hours tracing glowing holographic drawings in the air. Watching her, Chen quietly enjoys some homemade ramen, genuinely glad she loves his gift. Still, reality kicks in, and she worries about him spending so much money on her when next month's rent isn't even covered. But Chen just flashes a proud smile, revealing that their rent for the entire year has already been paid in full. He casually brags that his business with a friend is making bank, but Uni is sharp. She immediately shoots him a highly suspicious glare. You just know she isn't buying this convenient cover story. That being said, she chooses not to push him for details. Honestly, she can't even remember the last time her big brother laughed so openly and freely like this. Gently patting his shoulder, she makes one simple request: whatever secret hustle he's running, he just needs to make sure he doesn't burn himself out. Meanwhile, at a quiet aquarium, Student Council President Ting drops shocking news on his cousin. The city's top doctors have declared that their elite assassin is critically injured beyond recovery. Over half the bones in his body are shattered. Fighting Chen was already unexpected, but the absolutely horrifying state of his body after the clash is genuinely staggering. His cousin reacts with total, chilling indifference. Her only real disappointment is that the number of elite graduate students joining his squad has dropped. But the president is just as ruthless, brushing it off and saying he'll perform better without some dead weight dragging him down. Just then, their uncle, who also serves as the Academy's Director of Employment, speaks up. Director Gong Xuan calmly delivers his official report regarding our hero's recent moves. His detailed investigation into the chaos at the ranking ceremony is finished, and the results are pretty undeniable. Talk about a massive twist, Chen actually ranks higher than the president, leaving Ting completely off guard. The director then offers a stern word of advice. He reveals that Ting's father personally requested a vice chairman of the alliance to evaluate his upcoming combat exam performance. Because of this, Ting must shine brighter than anyone else. But just in case he fails to take center stage, the director proposes a backup plan. The green-haired girl, who is his uncle's favorite niece, will join his squad to guarantee they lock down first place. However, the arrogant council president flatly rejects the offer without a single second thought. He haughtily claims that he didn't even use a fraction of his true strength during the initial assessment. Supremely confident in his superiority, President Ting assures them he'll dominate the academy completely alone. Back at the academy dorms, our boy Chen washes off after a grueling daily 100-meter run with a heavily weighted backpack. He is locked in on one single goal: winning that $1 million graduation exam prize. This prize is his only real shot at fulfilling his deal with Qing Jir from the Imperial Guild and starting a highly lucrative trade relationship. With only a few weeks left until the big exam, he lies down in bed. Not to rest, but to keep up his relentless grind even while sleeping. Shifting his consciousness to his demonic lair, he sees Demon King Lu's massive void tower looming ahead. Zero hesitation, he heads right up the long, imposing staircase that leads to the main entrance. Before this, his trial with the Gravehound King class scored a pretty respectable mid-C rank, but his Abyssal Fiend class? Absolute madness. The sheer power completely broke the Academy's ranking system. Not even the legendary Demon Heart itself could figure out how to rank its true potential. So the next move is painfully obvious if he wants to test his other classes. He has to unlock the Void Tower and unleash their raw power in real combat. Stepping inside, Chen wonders what kind of brutal nightmare trial this tower is going to throw at him. But the exact moment he looks at his new surroundings, his eyes widen. He gets pulled into a strange dimension, standing on a massive white planet drifting in deep space. Taking his first step forward, he immediately collapses to one knee, struggling to keep his body upright. In this fallen star wastes, the gravity is 10 times stronger than Earth, and Chen feels the crushing pressure deep in his bones. Behind him, his exit vanishes. He realized right away that he must defeat the boss to open it back up. He has to adapt fast before something ambushes him. But wait, look at that phantom lion nearby. It is not giving him a break. With no choice left, Chen instantly switches over to his lightning class. The beast lunges. He barely dodges and stabs it right in the shoulder. It roars in anger, but his strike did not hit any vital spots. His attacks are slow, sloppy, too. He quickly realizes his movements are holding him back here. The phantom lion easily pins him down to the ground, lunging forward to take a bite out of him. Clearly, these monsters have adapted perfectly to the extreme gravity. He lets the lion bite his arm, then quickly switches to his Abyssal Fiend class. This quick class swap instantly grants him a totally different stat boost. Trading away his speed, he gets a huge boost to strength and stamina, exactly what he needs for close-quarters combat. This class change slams the aggressive beast down, immediately turning the tide of the fight in his favor. Rakshas's gravity manipulation is incredibly useful. On a planet with 10 times normal gravity, a 3 times multiplier hits with absolutely brutal force. The lion roars furiously, but Chen shows absolutely no mercy, crushing the beast straight into the dirt. Afterward, he collapses to catch his breath, Suddenly, Gluttony surprises him with a well-deserved level-up notification. He learns that every class has its own star rating, which shows exactly how much his stats will boost when he switches classes. Right now, his Purgatory Rakshasa class has the absolute most stars out of all his options. But even with that edge, he still had to fight for his life against a B-rank Phantom Lion. Clearly, he still has a long way to go before reaching his full triple S potential. To make matters worse, he is annoyed that Gluttony won't let him absorb the beast. This monster definitely wasn't the actual floor boss either, since the exit portal didn't appear after he killed it. Suddenly, a massive door opens and dozens of glowing eyes peer out from the dark. Talk about a brutal reality check. That single beast was nothing compared to the absolute nightmare coming next. Countless B-rank monsters flood out of the door, clawing and attacking him from every single direction. Only now does he finally understand exactly what Rakshasa was warning him about. The demon warned him that this tower is filled with merciless beasts, and his path would be full of endless pain and suffering. But he has to endure it all to adapt and grow stronger. Chen suddenly jolts awake in a cold sweat. It feels like he just survived the worst nightmare of his life. Everyone else in the room is still fast asleep, totally unaware that he just felt the agony of being torn apart by monsters. He finally realizes that the Void Tower of Purgatory is no easy shortcut to instantly leveling up. This is just the start of a long, painful road. Soon, a few weeks pass, and graduation day finally arrives. Several major VIPs gather to watch this promising new batch of rookie students. They announce new rules for teams, requiring at least one high E-rank student in every single party. Once team building starts, they reveal that all students can now see each other's ranks, making it easy for everyone to decide who to recruit. The students are ranked from highest to lowest, but Malong quickly spots something incredibly bizarre on the list. Chen is completely baffled himself when he finds his own name sitting dead last at the bottom. Every single eye immediately locks onto him, as everyone wonders how a high-grade awakener ended up dead last. The jealous classmates immediately start talking trash, convinced his previous high rank was just some stupid mistake in the system. Yet even they cannot deny his overwhelming power, knowing that adding him to their squad would easily carry their grades. Council President Ting remains dead silent while the crowd whispers about the idiot who must be deeply regretting rejecting his generous invitation. The mastermind behind this stunt, none other than Chen's own uncle, Gongguan. Gongguan figured nobody would team up with Chen after seeing him ranked dead last. It was a pretty simple plan. If Chen cannot even qualify, he will never get the chance to confront the president's squad. Just a few hours ago, the entire class was literally begging President Ting for a spot. They tried brown-nosing him, but Chung shut them down immediately, explaining they only have room for one more. By now, everyone else has already grouped up, leaving only the school's weakest dorm completely stranded. Long sighs and says they tried asking everyone, but absolutely nobody wanted to join them. Since they only have 4 members right now, they are technically banned from entering the graduation exam. He complains that it is incredibly fishy how Chen's rank suddenly plummeted to 0, making him ineligible to even compete. Since the rules require at least one high-ranked student, they were clearly set up. This test is their only shot to showcase their skills and get recruited by premier guilds. For the final round, the head count determines how many monsters spawn, meaning extra bodies are not a cheat code at all. That is why everyone avoids these low-ranked students. They are just dead weight who make things harder. To make things worse, the 3 lowest-ranking students live in the exact same room, leaving them totally blacklisted. Suddenly, a guy calls out to Zuo, saying they only need one last member. He tries to manipulate Zuo, telling him he surely does not want to fail his graduation just to babysit his pathetic roommates. Chen realizes that if things do not change soon, they will all be disqualified and forced to sit on the sidelines. But Zuo, the dorm king, rejects the offer outright, stating he would never abandon his brothers. The recruiters stomp off, pissed, but Zuo warns them not to underestimate anyone in this school. Checking the official roster, Long announces that basically everyone has grouped up. They are exactly 1 player short, but nobody is willing to join them. Chen glares at Director Gongguan and realizes the corrupt official shares the exact same last name as the council president. Seeing through these pathetic, dirty schemes, Chen wonders if Gongguan is actually that terrified of his potential. Refusing to back down, Chen vows he is entering this tournament anyway, unleashing his raw, crackling lightning force. Since everyone else is displaying their hostility so openly, he realizes he has absolutely no reason to hold back anymore. Unleashing his terrifying aura, Chen steps forward while the proctors in charge watch in absolute shock. Even his own roommates look completely bewildered. While Chen remembers a specific rule all Awakener academies use to breed cutthroat competition. Any student can challenge anyone, at any time. It might look like cheap grandstanding, but it is the ultimate way to prove your worth and demand respect. Usually, most cowards would just decline to duel. However, Chen knows the proud council president will never tuck tail and run. If he puts that blonde president in his place, every team will beg to recruit him. Suddenly, a girl appears at the door, asking if they still have an open slot. She adds that she is planning on running through this year's graduation test, too. The vice president points out she actually reached D rank back in middle school, so she definitely will not disappoint him. His roommates completely lose their minds, wondering how Chen managed to pull such a gorgeous goddess onto their squad. Look at their faces. Chung and Ting are completely dumbfounded, while director Gongwan nearly chokes to death on his tea. The crowd gossips wildly, wondering why an elite exchange student would join the worst-ranked losers in school. Nobody knows her deal, but rumors say she hails from the legendary Saint Kingdom. Furious, director Gongwan snaps and tells her that exchange students are strictly forbidden from participating in the academy's graduation test. Gongwan adds that since Ling never took any local rank evaluations, she has not proven her strength, breaking every rule in the book. Suddenly, the principal appears and confirms the director is correct. Gongwan looks completely shocked when he sees the old man. The principal calmly asks why Ling wants to enter this trial since she's only staying at the school temporarily. Meanwhile, Chen is completely thrown off, wondering how a warrior class principal just teleported out of nowhere. He explains that her entering would be deeply unfair to the normal students, and she simply smiles and plays along. Chen starts sweating bullets, realizing he cannot even perceive the gargantuan rank gap between these two powerhouses. Gongwan finally gathers the courage to chime in, backing the principal up and declaring that an academy cannot function without strict regulations. But the principal softens his tone, explaining that the academy's true goal is to guide young awakeners so they can achieve greatness out in the real world. Sure, the graduation test is just a school tradition, but it is also a massive turning point in every student's life. He demands to know how the academy will compensate students who get completely locked out by these sudden rule adjustments. Cold sweat. The director panics as his scheme finally out. He really starts to suspect the principal is pulling all these strings specifically for Chen. Realizing this mess is not worth the trouble, the director quietly decides to back down. He shrugs it off since the absolute elite already teamed up, they will easily crush the exam anyway. Bowing deeply to the principal, the director apologizes and admits they totally overlooked how this system could unfairly rob some students of a real chance to grow. He quickly announces that to keep things fair, even the lowest-ranked squads with under 5 members can join the fray. At long last, the 4 roommates officially form their team and celebrate qualifying for the major exam. Watching from the back, the principal teases Ling she seems quite a bit too interested in young Chen. On one side of the battlefield, the student president proudly leads the school's absolute strongest elite, and on the other end, Chen leads the absolute weakest trio. The old principal is pretty curious to see which cave they will choose and what final score they will actually pull off. Suddenly, the announcer declares that all team captains can officially select which devil cave to challenge. A sharp ding from his tablet catches him completely off guard. One captain has already chosen. Pure shock. Everyone freezes when they see Chen's choice. His roommates freak out immediately and beg him to undo it. Do you even realize what you just did? But Chen stays dead silent, eyes locked right onto the glowing screen. So how does this test work? Teams enter a dangerous devil cave, racking up points by slaying monsters. Slaying massive boss monsters and speed clearing the dungeon grant huge bonus scores. Then, the exact difficulty rating of the cave serves as a final score multiplier. An F-rank dungeon maxes out at 75 points, while an E-rank caps at 100 points. The squad with the top score gets picked by the legendary Imperial Guild, and the MVP walks away with 1 million WA right there. Students whisper that the best score in school history is 90 points, set by the current Imperial Guild leader. Even surviving an E-rank run demands at least 3 decent D-rank fighters, but this year, Ting's powerhouse team might actually break that ancient record. Wait, check the main screen. A sudden ding announces someone already locked in their choice. Absolute madness. A student gasps as Chen locks in a deadly D-rank dungeon, something no one has ever cleared. Long asks Chen if he literally dropped on his head, while the dorm king loses his absolute mind. The clever nerd tries talking some sense into him, but Chen calmly reveals this was a highly calculated move. Another sharp ring echoes as the president selects the same D-rank cave. Without a single second of hesitation, Ting's elite squad locks in their confirmations, qualifying for the battle. The whole room explodes while Ting's team plays it cool. Meanwhile, a blonde goth girl brutally roasts Chen for trying to act tough just to get cheap attention. A bald student laughs that Chen's low-tier teammates will never agree to suicide, and the squad will fracture. Long stares intently at his friend, realizing Chen is absolutely serious. He wonders how his quiet buddy became so incredibly brave. Shaking off his doubts, the nerd hits the confirm key to back his friend. Yo also hits his green button. No regrets. He has nothing left to lose anyway. Hating that the others beat him to it, the dramatic dorm king slams his key too, officially registering their underdog team. Turning to his roommates, Chen softly apologizes, explaining he chose this hellhole to claim the top spot. He knows he is pulling them into his wild dream, but promises they will all stand at the peak together. He stands up. The arrogant president declares the top throne belongs to him alone. Chen pivots to face him head-on. Ting unleashes a terrifying, heavy aura. There can only be one undisputed king in this academy. Watching from the back, Ling gasps she has never seen Ting show such incredibly raw emotion before. It's on. Their heavy rivalry is officially exposed, and the principal feels pretty proud of their fearless hearts. But Ling feels incredibly uneasy about Chen choosing a D-rank cave that even a C-rank pro cannot handle alone. Sure, a team can earn 150 points there, but the difficulty is just too high for such a poorly matched team. The old principal notes that with only a single month remaining, they cannot possibly close that massive power gap in time. Regardless, he still hopes for a miracle. Fast forward 2 weeks, and everyone is lying half dead on the training room floor. Long wants to know why they are stuck doing brutal physical drills, while everyone else gets simulation pods. Chen drags them through one brutal workout after another, leaving the guys completely exhausted and frustrated. But Chen just tells them the truth. Those virtual simulations are totally useless. The moment someone steps into a real devil cave, their mind goes completely blank. Raw instinct is the only thing that saves them. That is why they need this extreme physical conditioning to boost their speed and sharpen their reflexes. Sure, fighting in real dungeons is the absolute best way to learn, but ordinary kids can only dream of that. Those premium spots are strictly for the elites. What is worse, those top-tier students do everything in their power to keep regular people down so they can stay in control. They have easy access to resources that ordinary people would spend their whole lives struggling to get. The dorm king looks defeated, asking what regular folks are even supposed to do about it. Chen shares his strategy. If they somehow get into the Imperial Guild, they can dismantle the system. This graduation test is their one shot to finally surpass those elites. Fired up by that massive goal, Chen promises to give it everything he has to secure their victory. With only 2 weeks left before the big exam, our boy pushes his limits inside the mysterious Void Tower every single night. Taking down those vicious phantom lions is absolute hell, but he refuses to give up no matter how badly they trash him. 5 days before the exam, his roommates are giving it their all. But look at Chen, he is on a completely different level. His insane daily routine makes their hardest efforts look like a simple morning jog. With just 2 days remaining, his rival is pushing hard too, but Chen's progress is moving at warp speed. Now he can easily take on a massive pack of beasts under crushing gravity. Blood dripping down his face, he is completely locked in and ready for war. On the big day, a sleek guide drone hovers over the crowd. The boys walk onto the field wearing matching gear, looking incredibly sharp. The second all the students snap on their high-tech wristbands, the exam officially kicks off. Just outside the arena, the principal warmly welcomes Gong Lin. This refined gentleman happens to be President Ting's father, who co-founded the mighty Imperial Guild. The students stare at this legendary figure like he is some exotic beast on display. Their minds are blown even further when they watch the school leaders step forward to greet a sleek white luxury limousine. A refined, red-haired gentleman named Carl Kendish calmly steps out onto the pavement. The crowd absolutely loses it. Everyone instantly recognizes him as the powerful vice chairman of the World Guild Alliance. A giant figure like him has no business visiting a normal school. Inside a private VIP suite, the director announces that 23 teams are tackling basic F-rank demon lairs. Only a few teams stepped up to E-rank zones, while only 2 crazy groups chose D-rank lairs. The Alliance secretary, a woman named Secret, looks highly skeptical of such a reckless decision. Normally, even experienced D-rank squads prepare heavily before entering them. She wonders if the school even cares about student safety, but the director calmly assures her that these kids fully understand the extreme risks involved. He openly admits that rookies with 0 actual combat experience usually struggle against basic F-rank monsters, and the real danger is the zone boss, whose strength completely eclipses ordinary beasts. Most teams fail right at the finish line because of that boss, but things get way crazier in E-rank territories. Over there, even the standard grunts are as strong as an F-rank boss. That is a brutal lesson most kids learn the hard way. Secret then asks if there is any safety net if things go completely sideways. The director quickly reassures her that the academy always looks out for its prospective stars. To prevent any tragedy, a veteran fighter from the Imperial Guild guards every single lair entrance, ready to intervene instantly. On top of that, their specialized high-tech wristbands will instantly teleport them to safety if they forfeit or face fatal danger. Even so, Secret highly doubts any of these kids are actually strong enough to survive a D-rank dungeon. She quietly watches the screens, wondering how many minutes these teams will actually last. The director just chuckles, confident that the E-rank kids will soon come crying back to safety. Step into this frozen D-rank dungeon with us. Chen's teammates are already shaking in pure terror. Can you blame them, though? Just look at those flying nightmare freaks that look like mutated, wingbat monkeys. Chen snaps at his crew to stay sharp. These beasts dive-bomb their targets in a split second, so keep your eyes open. Without warning, a swarm of the creatures swoops down. Incredibly, the boys somehow manage to clumsily dodge the lightning-fast aerial strike. But just as they are celebrating dodging a genuine D-rank attack, suddenly, an even wilder scene grabs their attention. Chen stands there totally relaxed, holding a glowing lightning sword, surrounded by a pile of dead monsters. He tells his crew to focus on staying alive since they are still pretty weak, leaving the rest of the horde to him. Without warning, another ghost monkey bat lunges straight at them with terrifying speed, but they barely manage to dodge the strike. Zuo suddenly realizes that Chen has actually been pushing them to sharpen their reflexes and speed so they can survive a real fight. Zhu grits his teeth. He spent all this time calling himself the Dorm King, but now he has no choice but to rely on his quiet roommate. Meanwhile, Chen absolutely decimates the remaining beasts. They dive in waves, but his blade cuts them down before they even realize they are dead. The Dorm King mutters to himself that he always heard stories about Chen from Ma Long, but seeing it live is a whole different story. To him, Chen does not look like a normal student anymore, but more like a battle-hardened soldier. You can see a little jealousy creeping into the Dorm King as he watches Chen's popularity grow. Suddenly, another beast ambushes them from behind, and Zhu barely manages to block the heavy blow. He grabs the creature's leg with his flaming hands, screaming at his team to stop holding them back and get their heads in the game. After all, Chen is not the only guy whose graduation is at stake here. The others stare in shock at his sudden fiery resolve. Inspired by the Dorm King's stubborn will, Zuo unleashes his vine lock spell, binding the beast. But to his absolute shock, the creature shatters the vines instantly, kicking Zuo right in the face. Ma Long casts his frostbite breeze, which barely slows the monster down, forcing them to combine their efforts. Working as a team, they manage to trap the beast for a second and yell for the Dorm King to take the shot. He charges up an explosive flame bullet and scores a direct hit, but the blast barely leaves a scratch, only scorching a few hairs. He fires off a rapid barrage of flame bullets, but nothing seems to stop the rampaging beast. Zuo and Ma Long are already pushed past their limits. The Dorm King realizes he cannot afford to hold back a single bit. He summons every ounce of his energy, unleashing a massive firestorm straight at the beast and triggering a massive explosion. As the thick smoke clears, only a charred skeleton is left standing. The announcer drone confirms they have successfully slain a D-rank ghost monkey bat. The exhausted trio collapses to the ground, totally spent. They are absolutely thrilled that they managed to bring down a D-rank threat all on their own. Chen walks over looking somewhat surprised, and they instantly ask him if he caught their big victory. The beast drops a single finger bone as loot. Zuo tries to play it cool, acting like the fight was an easy victory, but Chen just smiles and congratulates them. Right after that, the drone broadcasts that every single monster inside the Devil's Cave has been completely wiped out. Watching the feed, Director Gong is losing his mind. Honestly, who would expect a bunch of rookies with zero real combat experience to pull this off? The rest of the room stays completely silent. Meanwhile, Vice Chairman Candish's assistant quietly praises Chen for his incredible performance in the cave. He silently notes that Chen's aura feels extremely familiar, like an old comrade. The Vice Chairman notes Chen's name for the future, which immediately panics the director and President Ting's father. Desperate to divert attention away from Chen, the director quickly shifts the feed toward the elite student council team in the other D-rank cavern. He boasts that they have already conquered the middle section. The chairman's assistant praises their perfect coordination, comparing them to a professional guild raid team. Chairman Carl smiles warmly, noting that this year's graduates are far more impressive than any previous class. Director Gong whispers that the real battle is only beginning, and the best action is still to come. Deep inside the Toxic Vine Cavern, the president's team gets ambushed by toxic mushroom monsters sprouting up from every corner. One girl plays her guitar to cast a decay curse, while their star mage herds the mushrooms together with attraction magic for a big combo. He calls out to the captain, and the president charges forward with his blade, ready to finish the monsters with style. With one rapid slash, the president unleashes his blazing sky sword skill, obliterating the mushroom horde in a flash. The team quickly notices that these exam beasts are identical to the ones they faced during their special training. Since they know exactly what to expect, they handle the entire battle easily without feeling any real pressure. They easily guess that the school heads rigged the trial in their favor. Having friends in high places certainly makes life much easier. With that thought, they begin celebrating early, completely confident they will take first place without breaking a sweat. Reaching the lowest floor of the cloud forest, the squad can barely believe they survived long enough to reach the boss. Out in the freezing, snow-covered wasteland, a massive ghost ape is casually snacking on its lunch. Shanggu starts sweating bullets immediately, just trying to measure the beast's insane pressure. A single swipe from those giant claws would definitely end him. Right then, the monster slowly shifts its gaze toward the weakest link. Malong lets out a terrified shriek, and that sudden noise is all the beast needs to charge. The massive predator launches itself forward in a terrifying leap. Everyone scrambles back instantly, running for their absolute lives. But Chen, he just rushes straight ahead. He flies right into the creature's massive face with a brutal kick, following up with rapid-fire punches that launch its heavy frame skyward. To finish it off, he literally tears the monster to shreds. Witnessing this sheer violence leaves his team absolutely speechless. Honestly, Chen is just annoyed because these D-rank monsters barely give him any experience. To make matters worse, the loot drops are totally useless. That's when his team yells out in pure excitement they found massive mana crystals. The dead ape had been hoarding those glowing gems inside a hollowed-out tree trunk. Look at this, they eagerly reach for the treasure without a second thought. Chen screams at them to stay back, but a blinding flash of freezing light suddenly erupts from the tree. Within a heartbeat, the entire clearing is completely entombed in thick, solid ice. Shanggu and even the broadcasting camera drones are instantly frozen solid by the shockwave. Up in the VIP viewing deck, the camera screens go completely dark. The corrupt director smirks, looking like everything is going exactly as he planned. He knew high-level beasts set deadly traps, and it was only a matter of time before Chen's rookie squad walks straight into their own doom. Vice Chairman Candish frowns, clearly anxious for the students. The fake director acts disappointed over Chen falling behind and demands an immediate rescue extraction, but the principal instantly shuts that idea down. He notes that the team is still safe because their emergency bracelets will activate if their health drops too low. Besides, not a single kid has actually surrendered yet. The headmaster firmly believes only the kids should decide when their trial is over. Back down in the icy ruins, Malong is shivering uncontrollably. He is the only survivor who managed to avoid getting completely frozen, all thanks to his specific class having an incredibly high natural resistance to ice magic. Suddenly, Malong hears a chilling laugh and sees a skeletal ice monster staring him down with pure malice. He immediately recognizes this terrifying creature as the Lord of the Dungeon. This cloud mage is capable of easily switching between absolute defense and deadly offense by controlling frost. To make things worse, this creature, the notorious Bone King, loves to torture its victims slowly before finishing them off. Realizing the shiny gems were just bait, Malong turns around and sprints away to save his skin. Malong knows there is absolutely no way he can fight a C-rank lord alone. He desperately rushes to break Chen out of the ice, but a freezing projectile pierces his leg first. The Bone King mocks his struggle while Malong's safety bracelet blares with a critical warning about his damaged leg. The automated prompt asks if he wants to surrender and escape, but Malong refuses to back down. He desperately tries thawing Chen before losing their only real hope. Suddenly, another frozen spike tears right through his shoulder, completely halting his desperate rescue attempt. The sadistic Bone King revels in Malong's agony as his system bracelet issues yet another critical alert. Detecting his shredded arm and a dangerously spiking heart rate, the automated assistant asks him once more to abandon the trial. But instead of pressing the button, Malong reflects on his past. He has spent his entire life running away whenever things got tough, always leaving him isolated and weak. He remembers all the bullying, the mocking laughter, and the cold shoulders. His friends worked far too hard to get here, and he refuses to let it end like this. Grasping this final opportunity to rewrite his destiny, he squeezes out his remaining energy, stands back up, and successfully shatters the ice holding Chen. He shields his friend just as the Bone King unleashes a massive, relentless swarm of razor-sharp icicles. Talk about perfect timing. Just as the spikes are about to shred him, Malong roars, and Chen finally snaps awake. The remaining frost explodes outward, and Chen shoots forward, sweeping Malong out of harm's way in a flash. This lightning-fast rescue completely catches the Bone King off guard. Meanwhile, Malong realizes Chen actually broke out of that frozen prison completely by himself. Chen sincerely thanks Malong for putting his life on the line and asks about his wounds with deep concern. Malong wheezes that the bleeding has stopped, so he'll live. He warns Chen that their opponent is a terrifying C-rank lord, the legendary Bone King. He warns Malong that this combat is incredibly dangerous. He insists they cannot get frozen again if they want to survive, but turning around, they see the Bone King charging up a massive cluster of ice shards. Malong is stunned. He realizes the monster is about to drop a massive ice nuke right on them. A second later, the ice bomb crashes down, blanketing the entire area in blinding white. The monster starts laughing. Then it stops dead, noticing both boys are still alive after that absolutely devastating attack. Chen swaps his class to the Doomflame King and triggers his Cloud Warrior skill, Frost Body, giving him total immunity to cold damage. This shift also boosts all his resistance stats in freezing zones, flipping the battlefield completely to his advantage. The Bone King shrieks. Absolute, terrifying horror. Even Malong is totally lost. He watches his friend, who was supposed to be a vault assassin, turn into a cloud-type warrior. Is Chen a genius? He wonders if his friend is one of those rare prodigies who can awaken two classes at once. Chen casually apologizes for misreading the situation earlier, admitting his mistake dragged his friends into this deadly, dangerous fight. Then, he swaps classes again, turning into an abyssal fiend. Drawing his Purgatory Warrior blade, he faces the Bone King, ready to finish this fight right now. His best friend's jaw drops, completely wide open. Normally, Awakeners only get one class to focus on, but there is an incredibly rare chance for someone to hold two classes at once. These dual-class users are so incredibly rare that you could easily count them on one hand. That makes them high-value targets for every top guild. But wait, that is not even the part that shocks Malong. Looking closer, he realizes that Chen is not just running one or two, but three completely different classes. Even wilder, every single class is top tier. In his Abyssal Fiend form, Chen's stats shoot up at an absolutely insane rate. His massive raw strength launches him off the ground like a rocket, charging forward with explosive momentum toward the boss. The monster's smug grin vanishes instantly. Chen's deadly aura is too overwhelming. In one clean, effortless motion, he slices through the bone monster like a hot knife through butter, hitting level 17 and earning a rare loot drop. Staring down at the shattered bones, Malong is still in complete disbelief that Chen just casually one-shot a C-rank boss. Chen casually reminds him that the rest of their team is still frozen solid. Malong instantly panics, realizing he completely forgot his frozen teammates during that entire boss fight. He sprints off to thaw them out before they freeze. Once he leaves, Chen notices an option to devour the fallen Frostlich King. With absolutely nobody watching, he quickly absorbs the defeated boss and instantly unlocks the Cloud Mage class. Since the boss's ice attack completely blinded all the local cameras and drones, nobody outside will discover his hidden ability either. Then, completely out of the blue, another surprise notification pops up. His Lightning Assassin class leveled up too, letting him add a star to boost one of his stats. Meanwhile, over in Gloomvin Grotto, the Student Council President's team is getting absolutely crushed. No matter how fiercely they attack, this D-rank boss is way too tough for these amateur Awakeners to handle. The mage struggling to bind the beast with chains is already about to collapse, and worse, the Lightning Archer's arrows feel more like a light massage than actual damage. The giant beast easily tosses them around like cheap little action figures. This total humiliation makes them question if all their intensive combat training and simulations were completely pointless. They have never faced anything close to this tier of power, and the mage realizes the president is their only hope. Standing safely in the back line, the arrogant president strikes a highly dramatic pose. He charges up his ultimate skill while receiving massive power buffs from his support mages. Finally, gathering enough raw energy, he launches himself at the boss, thrusting his flaming sword straight through the monster's core. The sword erupts into a violent firestorm, melting the massive creature from the inside out. His teammates erupt in wild cheers, celebrating the rise of a hero whose name is sure to go down in history. A nearby drone announces that their team cleared this degrade zone in just over 30 minutes, leaving the fired-up party fully convinced they secured first place. They truly believe no other team could possibly top that record. They exit the dungeon, eagerly expecting to see their names shining proudly at the top of the leaderboard. They soon strut through hallways packed with students who gave up and teleported out early, most looking completely traumatized and haunted by the terrifying monsters they had to face. Suddenly, the president's lackey spots Chen and his squad just sitting calmly off to the side. Just one look at the exhausted team makes it obvious they must have failed the moment they entered. Smugly, strutting over, the lackey mocks Chen for failing halfway after acting so tough earlier. The talkative minion keeps going, but his boss shuts him up because the Alliance vice chairman is approaching. The elegant man slowly claps his hands and congratulates the students on their outstanding performance. As the man approaches, the president maintains his calm while his followers practically tremble with excitement standing before one of the world's absolute strongest men. Gong Ting confidently reaches out to shake hands, but Carl Cavendish completely ignores him, walking straight past without a glance. Publicly humiliated, Gong Ting feels his massive pride shatter. To make things worse, the vice chairman loudly calls his rival a true legend, grabbing Chen's shoulder to announce that Chen cleared a D-rank dungeon in just 20 minutes. Unbelievable, right? Not even professional teams from his own guild have ever broken a record like that. Both Gong Ting and his loyal lackey are left completely speechless. They cannot comprehend how four nobodies beat their 10-man squad's time and cleared a D-rank lair, but Chen does not even blink. Receiving praise from the most powerful man in the country honestly means absolutely nothing to him. Still, he wonders why such an elite figure personally visited the academy, but Carl Cavendish calmly states he will remember Chen's name. Then he turns to Gong Lin, the one who invited him, casually mentioning that his son is pretty talented too. It is a weak compliment at best, leaving an incredibly bitter taste in the mouths of both father and son. With those parting words, the vice chairman announces that it is finally time for him to leave. The academy director quickly steps in to smooth things over, announcing the final results and declaring that both top teams have tied. Because of this, they will all receive an official invitation to join the prestigious Imperial Guild. That news is music to Chen's roommates, who are basically set for life thanks to him carrying the entire team. Gong Ting's lackeys celebrate as well, but the president himself is far from happy with this mediocre result. The director then adds that both captains will get management roles in the guild for their leadership, splitting the $1 million cash prize evenly. Hearing that, both team leaders are visibly surprised, and Chen quietly worries that $500,000 won't pay off his massive debt. He must find another way to earn the remaining cash and keep his promise to the Mithril Exchange Guild. But that worry might not even matter, because Gongting openly refuses to accept a tie. He boldly declares that a one-on-one duel will decide the true winner, since there can only be one champion. This sudden challenge is incredibly shocking, instantly catching the attention of the director and even the vice chairman. Highly alarmed by his nephew's reckless move, the director urgently tries to talk him into accepting the tie. The older man explains that a tie is their best possible result, especially after Gongting's earlier embarrassment. Assuming Chen will reject the pointless duel, the director is shocked when he immediately accepts on one condition: the winner takes the entire $1 million prize. Would you believe it? This sudden twist makes the vice chairman pause and cancel his scheduled departure. With everything settled, Chen steps forward to face his rival directly, ready to settle the score forever. Sometime later, Qing Jir tells Chen he expected a first-place finish, but a perfect score exceeded all expectations. Seeing Chen all over the news, Qing Jir feels his financial support was definitely wise. He even offers to cancel Chen's $1.5 million debt, calling it an investment in his future. Unwilling to accept handouts, Chen firmly states that a debt is a debt and must be repaid, adding he came to discuss two things that catch Qing Jir's interest. First, Chen requests a simple one-week extension on his repayment deadline. Because the graduation test ended in a tie, his prize money fell short by $500,000. He reveals his plan to secure the remaining funds, a one-on-one tiebreaker against the rival champion, Gongting. The duel will happen next week inside a wild devil's cave outside school, leaving Qing Jir shocked by the reckless idea. Questioning why two students would enter a wild dungeon, he warns Chen that it is too dangerous without professional training. Completely unfazed, Chen tells him not to worry and promises to win that remaining $500,000. To compensate for the extension, Chen promises to hand over all monster materials he harvests from the cave as interest. Seeing Chen's absolute lack of fear and focus on his debt, Qing Jir sweats in pure disbelief. While he silently admits the young man is special, Chen casually adds there is a second, more crucial reason for his visit. With a serious face, Chen bluntly drops his final piece of news, leaving Qing Jir completely shocked, his mouth hanging open in utter disbelief. Stunned and speechless, Qing Jir stands up. He stares at Chen in absolute silence. Later that afternoon at Qinggui Middle School, Chen's little sister, Yun, celebrates finishing her final exams while everyone else complains about the brutal test. Scrolling through her phone, she happily notes her summer break. It's finally here. Then it hits her today is the big graduation assessment for her older brother. She gazes at her lock screen, smiling back at a happy selfie of her and Chen. 4 years ago, an excited Chen burst inside with his admission letter to the prestigious National Awakener University, completely thrilled to have awakened elemental potential. Back then, Yun excitedly asked him if he would become an awakener too. Overflowing with hope, Chen promised to join a top guild, make massive money, give her a better life. He believed power would let him uncover the truth behind their parents' sudden disappearance. Yun cheered him on, totally confident in him, but a more recent memory shows a depressed Chen staring blankly at his desk. He was a senior now, and the crushing fear of never actually awakening his powers consumed him. Sensing her worry, he quickly masked his sadness, forcing a warm smile and telling her that everything was fine and he just needed to push himself a bit harder. Now, Yun reflects on his journey. Despite working harder than anyone, he never awakened. She finally realizes how lonely he must have been, watching everyone else succeed while hiding his own agonizing pain to protect her. Her classmate Ju Tong runs up to greet her, eagerly asking if Yun has heard the absolute wildest news yet. Two elite geniuses. That's what the National Awakener University produced this year. Ju Tong explains that both of them led their teams to flawless scores, earning massive praise from the Guild Alliance vice chairman and putting their town on the map. Realizing Yun's brother goes there, Ju Tong suddenly asks how he did. Yun hesitates, a wave of sadness washing over her. But before she can even speak, a pink-haired guy interrupts with a smooth, flirty line. It is the school idol, Jin Duxin, who smugly tells Yun that he booked a private room and asks if she is free to hang out tonight. Ju Tong is totally shocked, asking since when Yun knew this idol, while Yun just looks incredibly annoyed. Without saying a single word, Yun spins around and runs down the hallway as fast as she can. A baffled Ju Tong wonders why she ran, while Jin Duxin quietly watches her go. Meanwhile, sprinting home, Yun desperately pictures her brother crying alone in failure while his classmates celebrate. Determined to comfort him, she decides to prepare a feast. To cheer him up, later that night in their apartment, Yun whips up a massive, mouth-watering spread of food, complete with hot pot and endless side dishes. Chen is amazed, asking his sister how she made all this so fast. As Chen happily digs in, Siyun watches him in silence, her eyes filled with worry, while the television behind them broadcasts a special report on the university graduation test. Chen just keeps enjoying his meal, as the news anchor describes the unexpected visit of Vice Chairman Carl. Seeing him act cheerful, you just know she assumes he's faking a smile to mask his failure. Suddenly, the broadcast announces a rare, historic event. 2 elite students have achieved perfect scores. The reporter says that Vice Chairman Carl personally praised one of the team leaders who scored perfectly, loudly announcing the name Chen. Hearing his name, Siyun looks at the television in utter shock. She simply cannot believe her ears. Her supposedly failed brother is actually the perfect score genius. Meanwhile, inside a dimly lit room, a bloody whip lies on the floor, and get this, a cold voice declares that the stage is set. The speaker is Gong Lin, standing coldly over his beaten son, Gong Ting. Gripping the whip tightly, Gong Lin yells out that he had invited a massive elite crowd just to watch his son's victory, furious that his carefully planned performance was completely ruined. Bloody and beaten, Gong Ting gasps as his father reminds him he tied with a nobody. He harshly declares that Gong Ting will no longer make any decisions, revealing that he has already taken full control and rigged their upcoming tiebreaker match. Gong Ting quietly hangs his head in total defeat as his father coldly states that he will take care of everything himself. He vows to win, by any means necessary, obsessed with ensuring the top spot belongs solely to the proud Gong family. Meanwhile, hearing the incredible news, Siyun turns to her brother and asks if that Chen is actually him. Chen calmly eats his dinner and confirms that yes, it is. Shocked by the quiet confession, Siyun instantly drops her spoon, sending it clattering to the floor as a sudden flash of lightning outside mirrors her utter shock. She stares in disbelief. Her own brother achieved a historic feat during the assessment. She is absolutely amazed that he not only led his team to a perfect score, but was also personally praised by the vice chairman of the Guild Alliance. A heavy, stunned silence settles over their dinner table. Overcome with real emotion, Siyun lowers her head and wipes away her tears, thinking of her silly brother. With tears of joy and pride, she smiles at Chen, realizing he finally made it to the top. On the night of the graduation combat assessment on June 17th, in 2157, Vice Chairman Carl Cavendish relaxes in a private dining room eating some premium beef. While enjoying his meal, he asks his companion for a progress report on her current assignment. Sitting across the table from him is Ling Yu. She hands over a black folder with top-secret files on a subject called the Devourer. She informs Carl that the target left no traces over the past year and warns that their surveillance might get discovered. Completely unbothered by her warning, Carl praises her work and tells her to eat first. Ling Yu hesitates, mentioning she has one more piece of info to share. She reveals she noticed a highly suspicious individual who recently contacted Carl, which immediately grabs his attention. She explains that the rapid rate of this person's power increase is completely abnormal. Now watch inside the Devil Tower. A shirtless Chen crackles with golden electricity. He realizes that he has spent over half a month on the first floor, taking out nearly every monster. He is fully adapted to the floor's 10 times gravity. His system interface shows his Lightning Assassin class at level 17 with heavily boosted stats. After the graduation battle, his Lightning Assassin class reached 100% proficiency and rewarded him with an attribute point. This clearly confirms that actively using a class increases its overall proficiency. Surrounded by the glowing avatars of his 4 classes, Chen realizes none of them have reached their maximum limit yet. He puts his new point into speed, the most important stat for an assassin. The multiplier boosts his speed to 740, equal to an A-rank assassin. Even with this massive speed increase, he finds himself in a tense standoff against a pack of glowing purple phantom lionesses. His main problem is the floor's lord, a massive phantom lion king that he has been unable to hit. As 2 phantom lionesses lunge at him, Chen activates his divine flash skill, transforming into golden lightning to meet them. He notices the Lion King's strange abilities whenever he finds an opening to strike. The creature instantly vanishes before the attack lands. He quickly analyzes the pack's combat patterns. They adjust their positions rapidly, but 2 lionesses always fight in close combat while 2 stay on standby. The Lion King also constantly maintains a safe distance from him. Chen narrows his eyes in frustration, realizing the Lord refuses to fight directly. Staring down the massive beast, Chen wonders what kind of combat class this evasive Lion King possesses. As a phantom lioness charges, Chen counters and thrusts a powerful bolt of lightning directly into its mouth. Just as he is about to land a fatal blow, the creature vanishes in a flash of pink light, leaving him pretty frustrated. He figures out this teleportation ability isn't limited to the Lord. The lionesses also vanish when he tries to finish them off, as a spatial portal opens to let them safely reappear next to the Lion King. The pack's strategy becomes clear the moment he pauses. Another lioness lunges forward to bait his attacks. Determined to break their coordination, Chen channels Golden Lightning and unleashes a rapid flurry of slashes. However, the beasts keep vanishing right before his blades can connect. The pack strictly maintains its formation, teleporting back to the Lion King whenever they are in danger, forcing Chen to constantly block their glowing claws. Every strike from Chen meets the same result as the lionesses vanish to evade damage. They flawlessly rotate attackers through the portals, keeping a fresh beast constantly on the assault. Chen continues to strike the lunging beasts, but the cycle persists as they vanish at the exact moment of impact. The lionesses continue their endless loop of attacks, forcing Chen into an exhausting battle. Sweating from the relentless pace, Chen glares at the Lion King, realizing the Lord is purposely dragging out the fight to toy with him. Leaping into the air to evade a beast, he wonders why he is stubbornly trying to beat teleporting enemies using only speed. But here's the twist. Chen suddenly opens his system interface and initiates a class switch, enveloping himself in freezing blue energy. As ice forms over his body like armor, he reasons that if the Lion King avoids direct combat, he doesn't need to use a close combat class. The transformation turns his hair stark white and makes his eyes glow icy blue. He resolves to use the mage class to shut down the beast's evasive tactics. The system confirms his class switch to the level 17 Cloud Mage, Frostbone's Skeleton King. Standing tall with an icy crown, Chen prepares to use his area of effect spells to control the battlefield. Now active in his level 17 Cloud Mage class, the Frostbone Skeleton King, Chen floats high above the battlefield and unleashes a massive wide-scale spell called Frost Spike. A massive hail of sharp ice spikes rains down, causing giant blasts that force the phantom lionesses to scatter and retreat. Watching the panic from high up, Chen notes that while mages are pretty weak up close, their long-range attacks completely rule the battlefield. He immediately targets the mighty Lion King with another dense barrage of freezing spikes. Right before the impact, the beast uses its spatial teleportation to vanish, stepping out of a warp portal far away to easily dodge the strike. Get this, they never even get to regroup. A giant swirling storm of frost magic traps the entire pack, as Chen laughs at how his trap completely shut down their hit and run style. Feeling danger from above, the terrified boss looks up, seeing Chen conjure a massive sphere of freezing magical energy, a frost blast bomb. Chen coldly tells them there is nowhere left to run, leaving the panicked boss to unleash a desperate, final roar. He hurls the giant freeze bomb down, detonating it on impact, completely consuming the entire battlefield in a blinding white storm of ice. As the blinding mist clears, the terrifying power of the spell is on display, leaving the boss and its entire pack frozen solid inside jagged pillars of ice. His targets are completely trapped, so Chen executes a lightning-fast class switch, calling a glowing pink sword into his hand. His eyes flare bright blue as he calmly declares that this first-floor battle is officially over. Activating his Stellar Warrior class, Chen leaps high and unleashes a brutal downward strike called Triple Cataclysm. The glowing blade easily tears through the frozen beasts, shattering the ice and cutting them down in a single sweep. The shattered beasts dissolve into dark mist, leaving Chen standing victorious right beside the giant fallen boss. The system confirms the win. His alias, Ash C, levels up to 24, rewarding him with phantom bones and a rare heart. A new system prompt pops up over the boss. He is ready to be devoured. Chen stands tall over the dead carcass, gathering bright light to start the absorption process. His eyes glow crimson as he focuses his power, eager to see what kind of slippery class this beast used against him. Chen triggers his absorber skill, pulling a massive vortex of dark red energy out of the dead beast and into his fist. The light solidifies into a system card, revealing the Stellar Tamer class of the boss. The card details those annoying skills, from forcing contracts on other beasts to instantly teleporting them across the area. Looking over the Stellar Tamer card, Chen notes he has never seen anything like it, finally understanding why the boss avoided a direct brawl. He realizes the base stats of the Lion King were pretty garbage, forcing the coward to hide behind its teleporting minions. Skimming through the list of skills, Chen admits that the Stellar Warp teleportation is quite a broken cheat. The Stellar Pact ability looks pretty interesting, though it relies entirely on raw intimidation. To tame a contracted monster of his own, he knows he is going to need a pretty aggressive, dominating approach. Suddenly, the mystical starry space around him shatters like thin glass, and you will not believe how drastically the scenery changes. The illusion shatters completely, revealing the true face of the first floor, a scorching desert stretching into the horizon. Staring at the giant skeletons buried in the hot sand, Chen wonders what tragedy hit this wasteland. Suddenly, a crackling sound pulls his gaze to a nearby dune. A vertical rift expands into a blazing fire portal, signaling that the gateway to the second floor is open. Before he can walk through, A sharp, hostile glare and a quiet growl from the shadows make him spin around. He traces two glowing pink eyes to a rib cage in the sand. Stuck inside is a fluffy lion cub, growling weakly while wrapped in magic chains. Chen is pretty surprised one tiny beast survived that brutal wipeout. Assuming it is the last leftover monster, he summons a crackling lightning dagger to put it down. But walking closer to the tiny cub, he notices a pretty crucial detail. Since the cub did not vanish when the boss died, it cannot be a contracted minion. Heavy chains are wrapped tightly around the little thing, making Chen wonder if the Lion King had kept this cub prisoner against its will. Looking down, Chen flashes an absolute cold, terrifying glare, scaring the poor thing half to death. But instead of slicing the cub, Chen swings his lightning blade to shatter the heavy chains. Released from the painful binds, the tiny lion drops safely onto the desert sand. Chen turns around, casually telling the beast it is free now. Walking off, he quietly asks if this ruined, scorched wasteland was once its home. The tiny lion shakes off the dust, keeping its eyes locked on him. Looking pretty sympathetic, Chen silently reflects on the tragedy of watching loved ones die while your entire world is destroyed. The cub just stares while Chen admits he knows exactly how that soul-crushing pain feels. Walking to the portal, Chen tells the cub to stay alive and keep moving because it is time to head to the next floor. Wait for it, a glowing system screen suddenly flashes beside his face, offering a beast contract. Since the beast started it, the success rate is 100%. Two passive skills unlock, sharing experience and letting Chen see through the beast's eyes in times of danger. Stopping, Chen looks back, quite surprised by this sudden pop-up. The fluffy white cub sits on the sand, staring up at him as the system identifies the cub as Lion King Leo, asking if Chen accepts the beast contract. Chen looks at Lion King Leo, asking if it truly wants to follow him. The cub answers with a resolute roar. Standing before the fiery portal, Chen explains his plan to climb the dangerous Dread Spire, warning that the monsters only get more savage. He cautions the cub that it could die, demanding a final confirmation. Leo roars fiercely in response. Seeing that unshakable resolve, Chen accepts, and their eyes glow with a bright pink pentagram. The system announces that the contract is officially accepted, sealing their pact. The system displays his new Stellar Tamer class and Stellar Pact ability, allowing forced contracts through raw deterrence, though the beast dies if its master perishes. Two passive skills are activated. One boosts the beast's stats by sharing experience, while the other grants the master its vision in times of danger. Finally, Stellar Warp unlocks, letting him teleport to or summon his companion. With their bond sealed, Chen smiles and says it is time to move. The energetic cub bounds right alongside him. Approaching the vortex of flame, Chen gives Leo one simple rule. During a fight, its only focus is to survive. Chen then steps through the fiery threshold. They emerge onto a rocky cliff overlooking a vast subterranean cavern filled with molten rock and pillars of liquid fire. Sweating heavily, Chen remarks on the scorching heat, feeling as though the intense temperature might literally melt him. As they explore, Leo peers over a molten chasm. Chen admits he has no idea what to expect, but a sudden disturbance startles the cub. A blinding light erupts. Chen's instincts flare as his eyes glow red, sensing an absolutely massive threat. Before he can even brace himself, a devastatingly fast attack blasts straight through his chest. And just like that, Chen bolts upright in bed, gasping and clutching his chest. He got instantly killed without even seeing his attacker, completely baffled by its nightmare power. Still trembling from the phantom shock of death, he wonders what monster lives on that second floor. His dread is interrupted when his sister, Si-yun, calls from outside that breakfast is ready. At the table, Chen stares at a massive breakfast of ramen and fresh fruit, telling Si-yun she made way too much food. Munching on toast, Si-yun instructs him to wash the dishes and hang the wet laundry later. Watching her put on her sneakers, Chen asks where she is rushing off to during summer break. She replies she is heading to a summer job. Worried, Chen reminds her he is handling their finances now. Si-yun smiles, explaining that with his recent success, she refuses to be left behind. Doing absolutely nothing all summer sounds terrible, she says, before reminding him to do his chores and leaving. Following his sister's orders, Chen washes the dishes and hangs the wet laundry in the living room. Finishing up his chores, he reflects that his sister has always been like this. Looking at their photo, he admires her unshakable strength. Ironically, even though she is not an adult yet, he often feels like she is the one looking after him. His thoughts quickly darken. Once his school affairs are settled, he must confront the dreaded Demon King, Wrath. This battle will keep him away from Si-yun for a very long time. Recalling her smile, he admits she is the only person he cannot stop worrying about. Then, a wild idea hits him. Pressing his fingers to his temple, he wonders if a certain experiment might work as his eyes glow pink with power. A glowing portal materializes, and Lion King Leo tumbles out onto the floor. Chen just stares in utter disbelief. He is amazed that he can pull his contracted beast right out of the spire and into the real world. The energetic cub quickly makes itself at home, running around and playfully tearing up tissues. Looking at his system, Chen smiles and forms a plan. Tien can command Leo to protect his sister while he is away. With passive skills active, any threat to her lets him share Leo's vision and teleport over. He remembers how much Seun loves animals, always petting every stray. Watching his loyal beast, Tien smiles, totally convinced that gifting her this lion cub is a brilliant idea. Suddenly, a loud crash from the kitchen completely shatters his focus. Startled, Tien goes to check, praying Seun actually likes her new pet. But his absolute confidence completely vanishes the moment he sees the kitchen. The cub has caused complete chaos, breaking plates and chewing on the faucet. Outside at sunset, a sudden blast of dark energy destroys a street security camera, leaving the corner blind. Beneath the pole, a bleeding man holding an ice blade crawls away in absolute terror. He desperately begs his hidden attacker for mercy as a colossal demonic claw slowly materializes right before him. The demonic claw lunges forward, brutally skewering him straight through his chest. His eyes widen in horror as glowing red tendrils hoist him into the air. A chilling system screen pops up, showing a cold loading bar as he gets completely devoured. Meanwhile, an exhausted Seun walks home, carrying bags from her summer job. She sighs in relief, her feet completely destroyed from the busy bubble tea rush. Soon, her path leads into a dim, quiet underpass. Without even knowing it, she walks directly beneath that broken security camera. As her quiet footsteps echo, a strange presence makes her freeze. She spins around in shock as someone steps from the shadows, whispering that she is finally here. Lurking in the dark underpass, Jin Duxin holds out a massive bouquet of red roses, showing he has been waiting there forever. He steps right into her path, offering the flowers with a smirk. He complains that she left school too quickly to hear his offer, bragging that he reserved the whole top floor of Purple Peak Tower for them tonight. Glancing at the flowers, Seun asks how he even knows her address. Jin Duxin smugly credits his dad, the city hospital director, saying tracking small details is effortless. Completely unimpressed, Seun snaps back that they belong in totally different worlds. She warns him to never look for her again and walks off. Annoyed, Jin Duxin steps forward and grabs her arm. He whines about how hard it was to book the place, angrily demanding if she really wants to humiliate him in front of all his guests. Seun glares back, stating she does not care about his stupid reputation. Then she calls him out, saying it is completely creepy that he followed her home. Enraged Maz that being called creepy, Jin Duxin completely snaps, with a dark, cynical, but before he can even finish, Seun swiftly counters, slamming a brutal headbutt right into his face. The impact sends him crashing down, crying out in pain while clutching his bleeding nose. Standing over him, a furious Seun yells that he should get his head checked at his father's hospital. Fuming, she storms off, warning him to stay away while grumbling about how his pathetic stunt totally ruined her afternoon. Later that evening, a warm light glows softly from her family apartment window, offering a beautiful and stark contrast to the dark and gloomy alleyway below. Coming home, Seun is absolutely stunned to find this fluffy white lion cub named Leo. Her eyes sparkle with instant, pure love. She eagerly snuggles the tiny magical beast, falling completely in love. She excitedly asks her brother, Chen, where he found this adorable thing. Chen happily introduces him as Leo, a very special gift just for her. She is absolutely over the moon hugging her adorable new baby lion, but wait, did you notice that pretty weird detail on him as well? She wonders why this tiny cub already has a massive mane, since usually only adult male lions grow them. Brushing the mystery aside, she decides to get him registered in the morning. Watching them bond so quickly, Chen feels immensely relieved, knowing his sister will be completely safe with Leo guarding her while he is away. Suddenly, a loud chime from Chen's phone pulls him back. He looks down at the screen, a satisfied smile creeping onto his face as he reads an email from the Guild's Supervision Bureau. His official application has been fully approved. Relieved, Chen feels confident that everything is going exactly as planned. With his home secure and paperwork completed, Chen looks ready for anything. He is finally prepared for his next big challenge, the graduation tiebreaker duel against Gong Ting in 6 days. 6 days later, the major tiebreaker exam kicks off deep inside Greenlight Forest. Director Gong Xuan orders both candidates to pay close attention as he explains the rules. Standing right before a glowing green portal at the base of a massive tree, Gong Xuan announces the school selected this wild dungeon for their tiebreaker, adding that recent surveys rank it as D rank. Both candidates will enter and take the exam in the same dungeon together, he confirms. He then warns the students that unmapped wild dungeons are way more lethal than standard school ones. Due to the extreme risk, 3 elite guild members from Esternia are stepping in as examiners. They will enter the dungeon to protect the candidates and grade their skills. This powerhouse team features Ivan from the Imperial Guild, Yasmin Kai of Divine Eye, and Sato Woda from the Silver Guild. Director Gong Shan explains that these 3 examiners will decide the final scores. Meanwhile, a live video feed of the match plays inside the Academy's dark VIP room. He just smirks. He secretly hopes the examiners pull off their backroom deal flawlessly, leaving absolutely 0 loose ends behind. Nearby, Principal Yuan Long wonders why Vice Chairman Carl Cavendish is still hanging around when his schedule wrapped up 2 days ago. Carl just chuckles while watching Sai Chen and Gong Ting on screen. He says nothing beats this kind of action, admitting he hasn't watched 2 genuine geniuses clash in ages and won't miss this for anything. Pointing straight at the portal, Director Gong Shan loudly kickstarts this graduation tiebreaker exam. Just like that, the real battle begins as both candidates step straight into the glowing green portal. Si Chen steps out, glowing portal energy still clinging to him. Scanning around, he finds himself in a gloomy, dark wasteland choked with rotting trees. Gathering near the entry point, the examiners study the creepy area. Yasmin Kai notes it feels like a plant-type dungeon. Next to her, Ivan offers Sato a smoke, but Sato quickly shushes him, pointing out that the camera drones are rolling. Suddenly buzz. An incredibly intense sound rings out inside Si Chen's head. He watches in disbelief as a flashing red system screen pops up from his chest, bathing his face in a crimson light. An urgent system warning flashes, screaming that a highly lethal threat is right nearby. Shaken, Si Chen realizes this is the first time his demon heart has ever panicked like this. Then, just like that, the screen vanishes, leaving Si Chen wondering if an elite monster is actually hiding inside a simple D-rank zone. He and Gong Ting push deeper down a desolate path lined with gnarled roots and twisting branches. Gong Ting confidently leads the way, trekking through the thick fog with Si Chen trailing behind. Watching from a high ridge, Yasmin Kai points out how suffocatingly dense the mist is. Right beside her, Sato Woda tells the examiner team to stay sharp and keep their eyes locked on both candidates. Right on cue, the stone floor violently splits apart right before them. Check this out. A grotesque, giant bug creature bursts out from the ground. The system identifies it as a poison cage ant, a dangerous D-rank monster. Without losing a beat, Gong Ting draws his blade and charges the beast head-on. Seeing his incredibly fast move, Ivan praises the kid's stellar reflexes. But Sato Wada warns him that real dungeon beasts are faster, meaner, and far more vicious than any academy training dummy. The poison cage ant strikes first, spitting a toxic barrage of glowing green acid projectiles right at him. But Gong Ting expertly deflects every single incoming splash with his swift blade. In one fluid motion, Gong Ting leaps high into the air and slices the massive beast completely in half, sending its severed body slamming into the dirt. His sword glows with brilliant golden energy as he drives it deep into the fallen monster. Unleashing his nuclear warrior class, Gong Ting drops a devastating blaze blade barrage, blowing the beast to absolute pieces in a fiery blast. Watching from above, Yasmin Kai pulls up a glowing green 10 on her wrist device. She hands Gong Ting a perfect score for his combat response, highly commending his instant defense against those toxic ranged strikes. Ivan also awards him a perfect 10, highly praising Gong Ting's combat logic. He explains that slicing off the venom sac right away completely disarmed the monster before it could react. Sato proudly holds up another 10, giving top marks for that clean, instant, and incredibly decisive finish. He stands calmly, glowing sword in hand. The examiners can't help but admire his flawless positioning and perfect execution. Keeping that level of cool composure against a real beast is practically unheard of for a high schooler. But then, Sato Wada points over at Si Chen, who is just strolling around with his hands in his pockets. Sato heavily slams his complete lack of focus during the fight, calling his absolute laziness an automatic fail. Gong Ting stays dead silent, staring hard at his rival's incredibly relaxed and unbothered attitude. Back in the VIP room, Carl Cavendish and Principal Yuan Long keep their eyes glued to Si Chen. Carl casually asks the principal what he thinks the kid is really trying to pull off out there in the mist. Smiling knowingly, Principal Yuan Long deduces that Si Chen is hunting for something very specific. Down in the dungeon, Si Chen pauses, tapping his foot against a tangled mess of giant tree roots. He realizes this central spot offers a clever way to wipe out the entire threat in one go. Golden lightning crackles in his hand, forming a jagged dagger. Saying he finally found his target, Si Chen ruthlessly drives the lightning blade straight down. The strike instantly sends a massive shockwave of golden lightning deep underground, violently rupturing the earth. A hidden nest of poison cage ants gets blasted skyward, completely obliterated by the explosive electrical energy. Drenched in sweat, the examiners realize Si Chen deliberately targeted that nest. They question his sanity, terrified that provoking a massive D-rank horde will kill them all. Check out Gong Ting, his cool face completely cracks as he wonders what Si Chen is planning next. Gathering momentum, Si Chen channels intense electricity into his boots and launches himself upward. Activating his Lightning Assassin class, he triggers his Flash God skill, rocketing up like a streak of golden light. Moving at impossible speeds, Chen intercepts the swarm blasted up by his trap. He immediately unleashes a rapid flurry of slashes against those airborne monsters. Darting between targets mid-air, he leaves a zigzagging web of golden lightning, shredding every beast before gracefully landing back on the ground. As Chen lands, shattered remains of D-rank monsters rain down from the sky as golden lightning slowly fades from his hands, leaving the three examiners completely dumbfounded. Sweating in disbelief, Sato W struggles to process this insane spectacle. As Chen casually brushes green monster blood off his jacket, the shocked examiners realize his file lists him as a mere E rank. They find it totally absurd that an E rank rookie can effortlessly destroy a massive D rank swarm. They cannot logically justify giving this flawless performance a low grade. The corrupt examiners whisper frantically, desperate to fulfill their shady deal to sabotage Chen. They plot to invent unfair excuses, like calling him reckless or penalizing his flawless lightning technique. Back in the VIP room, Carl erupts into boisterous laughter. Carl praises Principal Yuan Long for predicting that Chen was hiding his true potential. Absolutely loving this spectacular show so early in the exam, he eagerly waits to see how Gong Ting responds. Standing behind him, Gong Lin remains dead silent, his face rapidly darkening as he watches the monitors. Suddenly, the live feed on the screen gets torn apart by static. The screen glitches wildly before going black, flashing a stark red signal loss warning. Principal Yuan Long furrows his brow, staring at the dead monitor and questioning why the signal is cutting out again. Outside the dungeon entrance, rapid warning beeps blare from the monitoring gear. A technician frantically types at his console as the system flashes a critical signal anomaly warning. Look at this diagnostic screen. The D-rank classification is glitching out into a terrifying question mark. Worse, internal communication signal crashes to 0. The technician stares at the corrupted data in shock as Director Gong breaks into a cold sweat, demanding to know what nightmare is happening. Their panic peaks as the portal's green energy completely vanishes. The glowing threshold disappears entirely, leaving nothing but an empty cave opening that completely traps the students inside. Deep within the isolated dungeon, an eerie melody echoes through the dark, physically manifesting as floating, glowing pink and green musical notes. Chen freezes, listening to the tune, instantly recognizing the terrifying presence hidden within it. It is the voice of the Demon King, Wrath, while the cave entrance suddenly seals itself shut, morphing into a completely solid rock face. Director Gong panics, demanding to know how the gateway vanished. A technician reports a complete loss of connection, noting that the equipment threw major signal errors moments ago. Sweating with anxiety, he orders his staff to get command on the line. He deeply fears that a massive catastrophe has just unfolded inside that isolated dungeon. Meanwhile, deep inside the dungeon, a creepy melody actually materializes as glowing musical notes drifting through the air. Sicheng and Gong Ting freeze, staring at this completely bizarre phenomenon. Even the examiners are totally thrown off by this sudden, eerie vibe. Yasmin Kai asks if anyone else hears it, and Sato nods, agreeing that it sounds like some weird melody. As those heavy, rhythmic thuds shake the air, Sicheng grows terrified, instantly recognizing that chilling sound as the voice of the Demon King, Wrath. He desperately wonders how Wrath could possibly be inside a low-level dungeon. The Demon King is not supposed to show up for another 3 years. Suddenly, Sicheng's system screen starts screaming with extreme danger warnings. Sicheng tenses up, realizing his screen is warning him of an absolute, immediate death threat. Feel those heavy thuds. Sicheng feels them too, and he instantly realizes something massive is looming right behind him in the fog. A creepy, mocking laugh echoes through the cavern as a giant, dark silhouette starts stepping out from the heavy mist. Completely shaken by this intense pressure, Sato wonders what kind of beast is hiding in there right as 2 glowing eyes cut through the dark. The beast finally steps out, showing off a grotesque, humanoid mantis body that is absolutely dripping with dark energy. Looking down at the terrified group, it welcomes them in a creepy voice, declaring that they just walked straight into a trap. A talking monster is insane. Sato knows that any beast capable of human speech has to be at least a high-tier C-rank monster. He frantically wonders how such a powerhouse could possibly show up inside a simple D-rank dungeon. Terrified that this high-level beast will slaughter the students, Sato summons a massive, glowing battle axe and leaps forward, yelling at the kids to get back and stay behind him. But before Sato can even swing his weapon, the Mantis Demon counters with insane, blinding speed. With one lightning-fast, brutal swipe of its sharp scythe, it cleanly slices off Sato's entire arm. While the other examiners stand frozen in pure shock, the demon instantly vanishes, reappearing right behind Gong Ting with its bloody weapon raised high. It mocks the group, telling them to just curl up and accept their inevitable doom. With a sickening squelch, the monster drives its blade right through Gong Ting's shoulder and out of his chest, telling him to just die. Even with a blade through his chest, Gong Ting grits his teeth. Instead of collapsing, a wild, absolutely crazed grin spreads across his face. The beast is too close. Check this out. Gong Ting swings his blazing golden blade, cleaving the beast's trapped arm clean off. The monster is completely stunned, but our guy is not done yet. Gong Ting immediately delivers a devastating midair kick, launching the crippled beast crashing backward across the rocky ground. Despite bleeding heavily from that massive chest wound, Gong Ting completely ignores his injuries, his eyes glowing with fierce determination. He yells out that since the boss drew first blood, this kill is legally his under combat priority rules. He fiercely warns Sicheng not to even think about interfering. Sicheng watches the beast closely, his eyes glowing green as he uses his system skills to gauge its true strength. The interface updates the Mantis Demon's info, confirming that this thing is indeed a highly lethal, high-tier C-rank beast. Staring at the massive hole in Gong Ting's shoulder, Yasmin Kai screams at him to get medical help immediately. She begs him to stop the exam and let them pull him out, warning that this beast is totally out of his league. Gong Ting flatly refuses, channeling intense fire magic right into his palm. Giving up is simply not an option for him. Sicheng watches in utter shock as Gong Ting presses his flaming hand directly onto his bleeding shoulder, using the raw heat to brutally cauterize his own wound. Pushing past the blinding pain, Gong Ting fiercely declares that this clash is not over until one of them dies. No hesitation. Gong Ting leaps high into the air, bringing his fiery sword crashing down to continue his relentless assault on the crippled demon. Meanwhile, outside the sealed dungeon, Silas Lin, the leader of the Imperial Guild's elite squad, examines the vanished entrance. He calmly explains that this phenomenon proves a highly intelligent monster is operating inside, a beast that purposely lured the humans inside before snapping the trap shut. Director Gong Zhen panics, desperately asking if they can force the portal back open since the kids are still trapped inside. Silas Lin coldly tells him there is only one way to make that exit reappear: someone on the inside has to kill the Overlord. Trying to find a silver lining, Director Gong Zhen attempts to rationalize the situation. He suggests that since a typical D-rank dungeon caps out at a C-rank boss, the trapped examiners and students should still stand a fighting chance to kill it and escape. Silas Lin instantly shatters his optimism. Silas reveals that the initial D-rank reading is actually just a fake mask created by the Overlord to hide the dungeon's true deadly nature. Connecting all the clues, Silas realizes that this exact dungeon is the culprit behind the recent wave of missing awakeners his team has been investigating. He gravely tells a horrified Gongguan that the trap they are standing before is actually an extraordinarily dangerous B-rank dungeon. Meanwhile, inside the dungeon, the monstrous insect attacks relentlessly with its scythe-like arms. Gong Ting stands his ground, parrying the heavy blows with his flaming katana. He quickly leaps backward to avoid a sweeping strike. As the beast raises its arm for a crushing blow, Gong Ting vaults high into the air. The attack misses, its bladed limb burying deep into the ground and getting firmly stuck. Seizing his moment, Gong Ting confidently declares that he has the monster trapped. With one swift, powerful slice of his glowing blade, he cleanly decapitates the creature. The severed head rolls across the rocky ground as the group gathers. Yasmin watches in stunned disbelief. She is amazed that Gong Ting managed to defeat the Overlord entirely alone, admitting his strength is genuinely formidable. Nearby, Ivan channels a soft green healing aura into Sato's injured arm, asking if he is feeling any better. And here is where things get really bad. Sato checks his smartwatch, and his relief instantly vanishes. He frantically warns the others that his tracker has lost its signal, leaving them completely isolated. Yasmin and Ivan immediately check their own tactical gear. Yasmin confirms her connection is totally gone, while Ivan grimly notes that every single system, including their compass, is dead. Sato panics, demanding to know when the drones went offline. Gong Ting looks back in confusion, but suddenly, the headless mantis monster stands back up. Without warning, the headless creature lunges straight forward at a shocked Gong Ting. Xian instantly steps in, unleashing a storm of golden lightning that slices the creature into tiny pieces. The system confirms the kill, awarding him experience points. Still reeling, Gong Ting demands to know how that thing kept moving without its head. Xian calmly explains that this mantis was never actually the true Overlord. It was under mind control the whole time, allowing its body to fight even after death. Xian urgently orders the examiners and Gong Ting to retreat immediately, warning that any of them could be the next target. Highly defensive, Gong Ting questions how Xian could possibly know that. Sato angrily accuses Xian of losing his mind, insisting there can only be one C-rank Overlord here. He argues that the high-tier monster they just fought must be the boss, as nothing else makes sense. Before Xian can explain any further, suddenly, warning windows flood Xian's vision of an incredibly dangerous creature nearby, and a massive pulsing wave of psychic energy sweeps through the entire cavern. Caught in the psychic blast, Yasmin, Ivan, and Soto's eyes begin to glow with a sinister pink light as the true Overlord takes complete control of their minds. Realizing his warning came far too late, Xian quickly activates a wireless earbud, immediately recognizing the distinct, pulsating sound wave. In his past life, He witnessed the Demon King Wrath use this exact frequency to easily hypnotize and slaughter millions of ordinary humans across the globe. He turns to see Yasmin, Ivan, and Sato moving in perfect synchronization, marching straight forward in a mindless trance. But what would you do in his shoes? Chen bravely decides to face this ancient horror head-on, trailing the brainwashed group deeper into the shadows. Chen's system continuously bombards him with warnings of highly dangerous creatures ahead. The group soon arrives at a massive, eerie lair filled with glowing green egg sacs, where giant dark serpents guard a central, cloth-draped figure. Chen remains completely unaffected by the monster's frequency thanks to the counter-frequency track playing in his earbud, a direct safeguard he prepared specifically for Wrath. But, knowing the unprotected examiners could drop dead from the mental strain at any second, he decides to kill the Overlord right away. The sinister entity senses their arrival, its creepy voice echoing through the cavern as it hungers for their fresh flesh. Chen glares back coldly, completely ready to fight. In a flashback to years ago, an exhausted and bloody young Gong Ting stood over his brother, Gong Chang, after brutally beating him with a broken wooden stick. Watching the violent scene, their father, Gong Lin, coldly congratulated the 8-year-old Gong Ting on his victory. Sitting comfortably at a fancy dining table, Gong Lin explained the family's harsh rules, where the winner earned the right to eat, while the loser, young Gong Chang, had to kneel outside until sunrise. Left outside alone, a bruised and beaten Gong Chang, starving, Gong Chang kneels obediently as his stomach growls. Gong Ting secretly approaches his defeated brother and offers him a piece of bread. Terrified and completely shocked, Gong Chang whispers that their ruthless father will severely punish him if they get caught. Ignoring the massive risk, Gong Ting firmly tells his brother to shut up and eat. But his act of kindness is quickly discovered. He gets viciously slapped right across the face and is forced to kneel on the cold floor, trembling as his father holds a heavy whip over him. Standing over his beaten son, Gong Lin asks if he truly understands why their family has so much power today. The man proudly declares that it is simply because he has never lost a single fight. He drills his ruthless mindset deep into his son, declaring that winners make all the rules while losers are forced to follow. Defiant despite the abuse, young Gong Ting asks his father if beating him means making the rules. Gong Lin simply laughs at the challenge. Fast forward to years later, a badly beaten Gong Ting collapses to his hands and knees. He coughs up fresh blood. His shattered sword falls to the ground as he angrily asks his father why he refused his challenge for a fair duel. Angry, he demands to know why his father ordered their warrior Silas Lin to attack him instead. Totally unbothered, Gong Lin smirks and explains that his true strength is not just in his own hands, but in the sheer power and authority he commands over others. Looking down at his defeated son, he says the world does not run on fair rules. Instead, it runs on one simple truth: win at all costs. He keeps drilling into Gong Ting that methods do not matter, only the final result. As a member of the elite Gong family, he is expected to always be number one, even if it means completely throwing away his family, his loyalty, and his own dreams. Gong Lin coldly finishes his speech, stating that winning is the only reason Gong Ting is allowed to live. These harsh words echo back to Gong Ting's childhood: win to survive. Those words permanently scar him, leaving him believing his life depends entirely on always winning. Back in the present, look at this massive, hidden monster overlord they are facing now. The beast is surrounded by a terrifying nest of giant snakes and glowing green egg sacs. Chen remains completely unaffected by the creature's mind control magic because he prepared a special audio track in his earbud, expecting this exact kind of threat. The hypnotized examiners have zero protection and could die any second. Knowing this, he decides to kill the beast immediately. But right before he can strike, Gong Ting suddenly grabs his wrist and desperately whispers for him to stop. To break free from the monster's powerful mind control, Gong Ting roughly digs his fingers right into his own deep chest wound, spilling fresh blood directly onto the cold floor. Breathing heavily from the intense pain, he admits he doesn't know how Chen resisted the trance, explaining that hurting himself is the only way to keep his mind clear. He urgently warns Chen that a reckless, sudden attack will instantly give away their position and get everyone killed. Sweating heavily, the young man points out the countless glowing eggs surrounding the monster's throne. He explains that if they trigger the nest, they will be swarmed by dozens of S-rank monsters, making survival pretty much impossible. Looking at the trap, he realizes the clever overlord disguised its home as a weak dungeon to lure in and kill unsuspecting awakeners. Because of this trick, he is certain the beast will eventually come to them. Wait, he suggests a pretty wild plan: just play along, stay still, and launch a sudden surprise attack together when it gets close. Chen looks pretty impressed, admitting he did not expect Gong Ting to think so clearly and logically under this kind of extreme pressure. No chance. Despite the compliment, Chen rejects the plan. He warns Gong Ting that waiting will not work because this specific monster does not even need to move to kill them all. The Overlord does not need to attack them physically, he explains, since it can force anyone to end their own life with a single thought. and just as he says this, the hypnotized examiners prepare to end their own lives. Sato pulls out a saw, Yasmin points her gun at her head, and Ivan begins choking himself. Acting instantly, Chen uses his lightning speed to strike all three examiners, knocking them safely unconscious before they can hurt themselves. The sudden movement instantly catches the Overlord's attention. Game on. Realizing its prey is actually fighting back, the monster angrily declares that its food has been ruined. Reacting to the threat, the Overlord immediately triggers the glowing green egg sacs, causing them to violently burst open. Dozens of dangerous S-rank blade armor mantises crawl out of the eggs as the Overlord orders the swarm to kill the intruders. As the deadly, vicious horde surrounds them from all sides, Gongting realizes their stealth plan is ruined and decides it is time for a backup plan. Sword drawn, he steps firmly in front of the unconscious examiners. He orders Chen grab the three adults and escape the dungeon, promising to hold off the monster swarm all by himself. Chen is pretty surprised by Gongting's sudden decision to sacrifice himself for their safety. Honestly, Gongting knows he cannot defeat a whole swarm of C-rank monsters alone. Even so, he firmly states that he can at least buy Chen enough time to escape with the others. Clashing his flaming sword against a charging mantis, Gongting yells that he is taking full responsibility. He blames himself for pushing for that stupid tiebreaker duel and dragging everyone into a deadly trap. The sheer physical force of the monster's strike completely overpowers Gongting, easily sending him flying backward. He stabs his sword into the ground to stop himself from sliding any further. Panting heavily, Gongting stubbornly insists that since this mess is his fault, he must fix it. Stepping forward, Chen admits he completely misjudged his rival's true character, as his system triggers a quick class switch. He reminds Gongting they both agreed to the duel. Then, transforming into a level 24 lightning assassin, Chen summons a glowing blade of golden electricity. Surrounded by screeching mantis demons and the Overlord's buzzing pressure, Chen channels his golden lightning, confidently telling his ally that he has a solid plan. Bleeding out, Gongting immediately rejects the idea of fighting. He warns Chen that the Overlord's power is on a completely different level, guessing the boss is at least a B rank or maybe even an A rank threat. He urgently tells Chen to grab the passed-out examiners and run, insisting that escaping is their only real choice. Chen agrees that the boss is a literal nightmare, but he points out a massive issue because the dungeon gates are locked tight. He explains that if the exit was still wide open, the Imperial Guild's rescue teams would have rushed in to save them already. Gongting is utterly shocked to hear that they are completely trapped inside. Chen closely watches the silent Overlord, trying to figure out how to survive this deadly situation. He figures that if this boss is truly an A-rank beast, its power must be pretty close to the phantom main Lion King he fought in the Dread Spire. Suddenly, the swarm strikes. A mantis demon leaps forward, but Chen effortlessly blocks its heavy scythe with his glowing lightning dagger. Another mantis dives in from above, making Gongting panic and yell Chen, "Watch out." Before the monster can even land a strike, Chen and Gongting swing their glowing blades together, slicing down an attacking beast in a flash. A split second later, a massive swarm of mantis demons screeches, charging straight at them as Gongting holds his bleeding chest. Gongting grits his teeth, knowing that with a massive wave like this, they will be completely overwhelmed in no time. Ignoring the terrible odds, Chen calmly focuses his energy. Tapping into his lightning assassin class, he forms several crackling daggers of raw electricity in his hand. With a single motion, he fires a wave of golden lightning blades, piercing straight through several charging beasts at once. Without missing a beat, he activates his Flash God skill, rushing straight into the swarm at blinding speed. He easily decapitates multiple monsters in one clean dash. Gongting watches this crazy display of power in absolute disbelief, thinking it is impossible. He knows the assassin class has pretty weak base strength, which usually makes them pretty useless against massive swarms of enemies. Yet right before his eyes, Chen easily dodges a massive scythe swing. Then, Gongting notices that every single one of Chen's strikes lands directly on a weak point. He realizes that Chen is completely making up for his class's low strength with pure speed and perfect technique. Honestly, you cannot blame him. Gongting is stunned by the blurry after-images as Chen moves. As Chen wipes out the rest of the swarm in a storm of lightning slashes, Gongting realizes his rival's speed is easily at an A-rank level, if not higher. Inspired by Chen's incredible skills, Gongting grips his glowing sword with fresh energy, realizing they might actually survive this. Annoyed by how stubborn they are, the Overlord finally steps in. The boss charges up a massive wave of dark pink energy, activating a powerful boost. This corrupt energy flows over the remaining mantis demons, greatly increasing their strength and speed. The Overlord angrily orders the buff swarm to shred Chen to pieces. Standing ready, Chen holds his glowing electric daggers tight. One of the buff mantises tries to crush him, but Chen easily leaps over the strike and slices the beast to pieces in midair. With the fight getting wilder, A fierce Gong Ting yells, "Hang in there," as he gets his own blade ready. Chen pushes himself to his limits, unleashing a relentless storm of golden slashes against the supercharged swarm. Suddenly, a deadly mantis demon appears right behind him. Relying on his crazy speed, Chen vanishes just in time to dodge the deadly strike. He reappears and instantly fights back with a rapid storm of close-range slashes, but his attacks fail to cut through the creature's tough new armor. The angry mantis hits back with a heavy blow. Chen blocks the strike, but gets pushed far back by the sheer force of the hit. Panting heavily, he realizes that the Overlord's boost has pushed every single stat of these monsters right into the B- rank level. He notes that their shells have become as tough as solid iron, making it impossible to easily stab their weak spots. So he figures they need a way to completely break the armor first. Behind him, Gong Ting shouts his thanks, knowing Chen has bought him the time he needs. Abandoning his speed, stamina, and elemental control without hesitation, he pours every remaining ounce of power into pure strength. Flames erupt around his sword in a massive exploding pillar. Moving on to daily life later that evening, Jutong arrives at the rental apartment with bags of groceries, apologizing for taking so long to buy the drinks. Seun, with Leo resting on her shoulder, tells her not to worry since her brother is not back yet anyway. Jutong is surprised to hear that he is still out. She asks if Tion's brother knows she passed the Art Academy exam, but Seun replies she has not told him yet, though she did hint at having huge news to share. Figuring he is just running late, she suggests they start without him. Just then, Tion holds up an empty jar and realizes they have run out of garlic sauce. She tells Jutong to wait at the apartment while she and Leo make a quick run to the store, adding that she will grab some snacks so they can celebrate properly. Shortly after, Seun finishes her shopping at a local convenience store and heads back outside. As they walk, Leo happily eats some food while hiding inside her backpack. Seun smiles and calls him a little angel for being so quiet the entire time. She warmly praises the cub for being a good boy and promises to buy him cookies next time. Without Seun, she is being watched from a nearby alley. A man standing with a hooded partner holds a picture of her and reports over his radio that he has found their target. He then asks if they should attack. A voice over the radio tells him to wait and follow her until she is out of range of the street cameras. The man confirms the order and keeps watching. As Tune walks home, the sound of heavy footsteps follows closely behind her. The stalkers match her pace and start to close the distance. Knowing that the men have been following her since she left the store, Tune wonders what exactly they want from her. Hidden inside her backpack, Leo lets out a warning growl. Seun gently holds him and asks the cub if he senses the danger too. She whispers for Leo to stay hidden inside, looking back at her followers with a sharp look, and you just know things are about to get real. Deep inside the dungeon, panting heavily, Sishin realizes the monster boss's dark energy has pushed the bug swarm to a much higher threat level. Seeing that their shells have become as tough as solid iron, he knows he can no longer easily cut through them. He realizes he needs to find a way to break their armor first. Just then, Gong Ting shouts his thanks, telling Sichin that he bought him exactly enough time. Giving up his speed and energy, Gong Ting turns all his remaining power into raw strength and bursts into a massive pillar of flames. With his strength at its limit and his eyes glowing, an angry Gong Ting announces his final move. Swinging his flaming sword, he unleashes a huge wave of fire, declaring he will burn the monster to ashes, no matter how strong it is. The massive fiery attack crashes into the charging swarm, violently burning the bug monsters. Tearing right through the group of enemies, the giant blade of fire strikes directly at the calm, waiting boss. The strike explodes upon impact, trapping the monster in a huge, blinding blast of fire. Barely able to stand, Gong Ting falls to his knees and leans heavily on his sword. He realizes that his physical energy and magic are completely gone. Wiping sweat from his face, a tired Gong Ting breathes a sigh of relief. As the flames clear to show the burned remains of the swarm, he happily says that the fight is finally over. However, an evil laugh echoes from inside the fading fire. The boss calls out, mocking them by asking if that was really all they could do. Gong Ting freezes in pure shock while Sichin calmly looks toward the source of the voice. The smoke clears to show the boss completely unhurt, protected inside a massive glowing green shield. The monster glares down at them and calls their attack disappointing. Total fear washes over Gong Ting's face. He loses all hope, realizing he just used every last drop of his power and still failed to leave a single scratch on the creature. Staying perfectly quiet, Sichin looks closely at the enemy's defense. He realizes that right before the fire attack hit, the boss drained the life from the remaining monster eggs to build a shield strong enough to block anything. Barely able to stay standing, a defeated Gong Ting breathes heavily. Despair sets in, and Gong Ting wonders if this is really the end for both of them. Stepping past the broken Gong Ting, Si-Chan offers him a sudden deal. As he starts switching his class, he offers Gong Ting first place in the exam, but only if Si-Chan keeps the entire cash prize. He adds one strict rule, though. Gong Ting must never speak a single word about what he is about to witness. Summoning his glowing sword, Chen transforms into his secret demonic class. Gong Ting stares in utter disbelief, completely shocked to realize his rival actually has two different combat classes. Out of nowhere, streams of glowing pink energy violently tear themselves out from the dead monster bugs. He triggers a unique skill that drains the remaining energy and strength from the nearby corpses, converting it straight into raw power. A massive pillar of pink energy erupts around Chen as his power levels instantly skyrocket to insane new heights. Just look at this. Gong Ting shields his face from the wind, watching this unbelievable display in absolute shock. Even the boss freezes, silently glaring at the boy while breathing a cloud of energy through its razor-sharp teeth. Chen feels his raw strength and stamina surge to their absolute peak. Shrouded in dark demonic energy, he repeats his bold claim. He will slay the monster himself. The Overlord instantly counters, casting its soul rest enigma. Energy bursts from the monster's glowing green shield, flooding the cavern with intense psychic pressure. The brutal mental attack slams directly into Gong Ting. Battered and bleeding, he clutches his head in absolute agony, desperately fighting the hypnosis. But Chen, fully transformed, does not even flinch. The Overlord freezes as Chen walks forward with his massive sword resting casually on his shoulder. Confused, the monster demands to know why its hypnosis fails. Desperate to crush him, the Overlord unleashes sonic hell, blasting a devastating shockwave across the area. The shockwave tears through the cavern, but Chen easily stands firm while Gong Ting buckles, screaming out in sheer agony. The Overlord glares at the boy, but Chen stares right back with glowing eyes, stepping directly toward the shielded monster. Panic strikes the Overlord. It stammers in disbelief, unable to understand how its attack did absolutely nothing. The Overlord orders its summons to rip Chen apart, and a massive shadowy serpent instantly lunges at him. Gripping his glowing sword tightly, Chen delivers a brutal swing that splits the giant serpent's head in half. As the beast crashes down, two more massive serpents dive straight at him from the ceiling. Bracing himself, he swings his massive blade in a wide arc, decapitating both monsters with one single, clean sweep. Now, he charges the Overlord. The monster laughs, bragging that its barrier is unbreakable, but Chen simply questions that claim and leaps high above the shield. The system immediately announces his stellar warrior skill. A Sora collapse activates, draining the life force of surrounding monster corpses to feed his own power. Chen lets out a wild roar. He slams his sword down with everything he has, shattering the shield completely. The Overlord can only stare in disbelief. Unbelievable, right? Gong Ting watches in shock as Chen shatters the barrier in one hit, then charges his fist with blinding energy. The system confirms the sudden activation of Triple Cataclysm in crushing mode. He punches straight through the Overlord's body, blowing it completely apart with a devastating surge of raw energy that craters the floor. As the smoke clears from the crater, the Overlord is reduced to a shadowy remnant, muttering that it is half dead. Standing over the broken monster, Chen demands answers, ordering it to explain its connection to Wrath. The Overlord is stunned, asking how a mere human could know the name of Lord Wrath. The monster spits back that if it actually knew where the Demon King was, it wouldn't be rotting in this miserable dungeon. Chen freezes as the truth hits him. Someone actually sealed Wrath away. The Overlord bursts into sinister laughter, warning that Lord Wrath will rise again to reclaim his armies and slaughter every human to the bone. Moments later, the Overlord's core violently ruptures, dissolving into the air. Chen reaches out as his system activates, instantly absorbing the monster's glowing green essence. The system confirms the absorption, granting Chen a new class called Phantom Sorcerer, which unlocks the Overlord's psychic attacks and barrier skills. His level jumps to 25, and he obtains 3 rare black-scale snake greatswords. Reviewing his new class, Chen connects the dots. Wrath did not just randomly appear in the future. The Demon King was already trapped in their world long before the invasion ever began. A massive hidden conflict occurred in the past to seal him, and Chen knows nothing about it. His thoughts abruptly shatter when he notices Gong Ting limping slowly toward him. Coupled with deep wounds and coughing blood, Gong Ting admits he never expected to face a dual-class user. He concedes that Chen is on an entirely different level, declaring him the winner. Gong Chong swears that Chen's secret is safe with him, promising to take what he saw to his grave. But his strength totally fails. He spits up blood and collapses heavily against the cavern wall. Chen urges him to hold on because the dead Overlord means the dungeon gate will open and the guild will arrive any second. Suddenly, Chen freezes. And check this out, a passive skill triggers, forcing a terrifying shared vision on him. He sees through his contracted beast, Leo, watching a menacing man radiate dark, swirling energy. Realizing Leo's location, Chen screams his sister's name, seeing an enemy with glowing green eyes and dark tentacles. This creep is cornering a terrified Si-Yun, who desperately clutches Leo to her chest. She shields the tiny cub from those slimy tentacles. Earlier on June 24th, Si-yoon was simply heading home through the narrow city streets. But the moment she left the convenience store, some pretty creepy shadows started matching her every single step. Two thugs with nasty grins follow right behind. Snug inside her backpack, little Leo senses the hostile vibes, too, letting out a soft, protective growl. Feeling the bag move, Si-yoon whispers to her cub to see if he feels it too. Staying completely calm, she clutches the bag and tells her little partner to stay safely hidden inside. But she's not scared at all, turning around with a fierce, determined look. She is actually pretty thrilled. Her boring night just got a whole lot more interesting. Instantly, she uses her street smarts because rule number 1 of being followed is to find a crowd. Racing down some stairs, she heads straight for the busy market district. With the food street completely packed during the dinner rush, she uses the chaotic crowd to her absolute advantage. She melts into the massive wave of shoppers, effortlessly breaking their line of sight to escape. The thugs lose track, forcing the beanie guy to aggressively shove people aside, desperately trying to push through the mass of people. But Si-yoon's evasion game is just too clean. They look away for just a split second, and she completely vanishes, leaving the thugs completely stranded in the busy street as they frantically look around for any sign of her. Meanwhile, Si-yoon slips into a quiet, empty alleyway to hide and recover. Catching her breath, she looks back, relieved to see those creepy stalkers are finally out of sight. Just as Si-yoon thinks she's safe, a heavy footstep echoes right in front of her. She freezes in shock, finding a suspicious older man with slicked-back white hair waiting on the steps of her own building. Puffing on a cigarette, he lazily complains about waiting forever because the building door was locked. Her heart sinks as she realizes it is a trap. Backing away, Si-yoon demands to know how they tracked down her apartment. Before she gets any answers, those two thugs block her escape, laughing about how the little chick can actually run. Trapped with absolutely nowhere to go, Si-yoon tries to make a desperate sprint down the hallway, while the cruel hunters laugh at her completely futile attempt. But these guys, not normal punks, they are real awakeners. Suddenly, a blast of ice magic shoots out, freezing her foot solid to the concrete. The impact sends her crashing face first, throwing her bag away. Trapped in ice, she looks up as a glowing, frozen hand reaches down. That disgusting beanie-wearing creep looms over her, drooling like a complete psycho. He asks if she is tired, telling her to take a breather and keep him entertained for a bit. Just as the thug reaches out, she screams in panic. But before his hand can even touch her, a massive spectral paw slams directly into his face with monstrous power, sending him flying backward to crash onto the ground, utterly shocking their white-haired leader as a heavy thud echoes through the alley. Stepping right in front of the trembling Si-yoon is a colossal, majestic white lion. Si-yoon stares at the glowing beast in pure disbelief, realizing this massive legendary predator is actually her little cub, Leo. The beanie thug clutches his bleeding face, screaming out in absolute terror. He frantically yells to his partner, crying that the client who hired them never mentioned they would have to face a giant, overpowered monster lion. Leo lets out a deafening, earth-shattering roar that shakes the entire alleyway. Terrified, the other thug panics, frantically charging yellow lightning into his fists in a desperate last-ditch effort to save himself. But keeping up that giant legendary beast form, way too exhausting for a tiny baby cub. Right after his heroic entrance, Leo runs out of juice. He immediately transforms back. He shrinks back into his tiny, cute self and falls onto his back, completely dizzy. Seeing her fluffy little guardian instantly pass out from total exhaustion, Si-yoon panics. She immediately scoops her tiny champion right into her arms, frantically checking if he'll be all right after burning through all that power. Seeing the legendary lion suddenly shrink back into a helpless, dizzy little baby, the white-haired leader stares with absolute disappointment. He scoffs, grumbling to himself that he really thought this beast was actually going to be something special. With a cold snap of his fingers, he decides to end this game. Time to unleash his own terrifying power as an awakener. Massive, thorny wooden roots violently rip straight through the hard concrete floor, swarming the narrow alleyway. He sneers that the tiny cub couldn't even keep up that form for 10 seconds. The massive, writhing vines swirl and coil around Si-yoon, trapping her inside a sharp, thorny living cage. Clutching a dazed Leo tightly, she desperately warns the villain, "Stay back." But her warnings mean absolutely nothing to a cold-blooded, seasoned killer. Pressing the sharp, thorny branches closer and closer to her face, the leader tells her not to waste his time, issuing a terrifying ultimatum. Either she hands the beast over right now, or he'll gladly rip it away from her corpse. Just as he goes to strike, Leo's eyes flash as his contract skill activates. Stellar Warp. Burning his mental control, a massive warp portal rips open. In a blinding flash of pink light, Chen teleports directly to Leo's side and lands a devastating kick right to the leader's face. The sheer kinetic force of the strike sends the thug flying backward like a broken ragdoll, crashing brutally straight through the metal trash cans. Chen calmly turns to his sister. He apologizes for being so late, casually explaining that his business inside the dungeon took longer than he expected, before asking if she and Leo are doing okay. The thug is totally shocked. You have to wonder where this overpowered monster of a guy suddenly spawned from. Still deeply shaken, Siyun frantically tries to explain what just happened, warning him that she has no clue how they tracked her down and that they are all high-level awakeners. But Chen just looks back with a warm smile, telling her to breathe. Her big brother is here. Meanwhile, the leader crawls out of the rubble. Seeing his perfect plan get ruined, he completely snaps, furious at himself for letting his guard down for even a second. Sharp, thorny wooden roots coil tighter and tighter around his body as he screams that Chen has made the absolute biggest mistake of his life, vowing to bring their decapitated heads back to his client. But our boy doesn't even flinch. Clenching his fist, golden lightning begins to violently crackle around his knuckles. Chen calmly tells his sister to stay right behind him, promising her that this fight isn't going to take long at all. Our hero recalled his childhood. Back then, he was getting absolutely pulverized in a dusty alleyway. Leading the brutal beatdown was an orange-haired bully, who also happened to be his cousin, screaming at him to learn his place. The thugs pinned young Chen to the dirty floor, aiming to break his spirit. But the bullies didn't count on his sister. A young Siyun suddenly charged into the alleyway wielding a massive metal pipe, yelling at the thugs to get off her brother. The arrogant, orange-haired cousin wasn't intimidated by her at all, mockingly laughing at the idea of this tiny girl trying to play savior. Seeing the gang shift their focus to his sister, a panicked Chen screamed at his cousin. Don't take a step toward her. He desperately reminded the bully of his solemn promise never to lay a single hand on Siyun. The smug cousin just laughed it off, openly admitting that he lied. He proudly boasted that today was the day he finally beat some humility into his insufferable family members. But while the ringleader was busy monologuing, he made a fatal mistake. Exploiting the distraction, young Chen spotted a heavy brick on the ground, grabbed it, and violently smashed it directly into the face of the thug holding him down, shocking everyone. Young Chen was furious. Raising his bloody brick, he charged straight toward his cousin. The arrogant, orange-haired ringleader's face instantly paled as he watched young Chen sprint at him with pure, cold, murderous intent. Chen delivered a brutal brick smash directly to his cousin's face for breaking his word, sending him crashing heavily onto the concrete pavement, bleeding and crying on the floor. The defeated cousin shrieked in terror, calling Chen a complete, total psychopath. Catching his breath, young Chen dropped his weapon and gently told a trembling Siyun that everything was okay and she didn't need to be afraid. Back in the present, Chen tells Siyun to stay back out of danger, calmly promising his little sister that he will wrap this fight up in no time. Determined not to let their targets escape, the stalkers charge straight at him, ready for the kill while Siyun panics, holding tight to little Leo. She frantically warns him that he's facing 3 highly dangerous, unhinged awakeners. Terrified that her brother cannot handle them all at once, the hooded thug charges forward with a massive lightning fist. He laughs at Chen, mocking the kid for just standing there without even trying to defend himself. But before the guy can even react, Chen counters with one devastating punch, sending the thug flying headfirst straight into a solid concrete wall. Seeing her brother effortlessly wreck a high-level awakener with one hand, Siyun's jaw completely drops. Right on cue, the bloody beanie-wearing thug leaps forward, desperately lunging with his glowing elemental dagger. Without even breaking a sweat, Chen catches the thug's wrist midair and delivers a brutal knee strike directly to his face. The insane impact launches the beanie thug backward, sending him crashing directly into a pile of trash bins in the alley. Suddenly, a massive thorny vine rips through the alley, but with insane reflexes, Chen casually tilts his head to dodge the surprise attack. The heavy vine misses completely, smashing into the brick wall. Seeing his goons taken out, screaming in rage, the white-haired boss completely loses it over some kid in a high school uniform making a total joke of them. Channeling his nature magic, the boss summons a swarm of massive wooden spikes, vowing to turn Chen into a human pincushion. Calmly tapping into his godlike agility, he seamlessly slips and weaves through the storm of razor-sharp vines without getting a single scratch on him. In one fluid motion, Chen launches himself right through a gap in the boss's defenses, closing the distance instantly. Honestly, the boss's face is pure gold here, screaming and panicking over how anyone can move like that. Watching him dominate, Siyun suddenly remembers something. Her brother didn't just barely pass his graduation combat exam. He had completely and utterly destroyed the competition back then. Chen winds up his fist and delivers a heavy punch straight to the boss's jaw, showing these guys that they are playing on a completely different level. The impact launches the boss backward like a missile, crashing him hard into the alley wall. Just like that, the leader is out cold on the pavement, bleeding and defeated. Over in the trash bins, the beanie thug is completely unresponsive. Beside him, the hooded guy is slumped against the wall, knocked out cold. The entire threat has been completely wiped out in under a single minute. Casually dusting off his clothes, Chen turns to his sister, telling her to take little Leo and head straight home where it is safe. He gives her a reassuring smile, promising to dump these clowns at the guard station and meet her back at their place before she even knows it. Still a bit dazed by the wild fight, but feeling completely safe, Seun hugs Leo tight and happily heads home. Hours later, under the dim light of a crescent moon, the beaten boss slowly starts to wake up. Groaning in agony, the battered leader struggles to open his swollen eyes, but his confusion quickly turns to absolute dread. He realizes they have been stripped of their weapons and tied tightly back-to-back around a concrete pillar, with Chen staring coldly down at them. Panicking immediately, the boss hysterically demands to know where they are and why they were dragged to this isolated spot. Beside him, the beanie thug whimpers that his shattered head feels like it is cracking in half. Unfazed, Chen coldly asks if they belong to the Black Mountain Society. They never lift a finger without getting paid, so he demands to know who hired them to kidnap his sister. The bleeding boss just chuckles, arrogantly explaining that snitching is a death sentence in their line of work, so he has no intention of talking. Chen doesn't even blink. Since they want to play tough, he sighs calmly. Okay, let's do this the hard way. Suddenly, a dark, swirling energy wraps around him as his system initiates a class switch. The system confirms the switch is complete, revealing Chen's terrifying level 25 Phantom Sorcerer class. Armed with spells like Soul Rest Enigma and Ripple Hell, get ready, he's about to give these mercenaries a mental torture they will never forget, and the interrogation begins. Chen doesn't waste a single second, activating his newly acquired Phantom Sorcerer magic to force his way straight into the white-haired leader's mind. Under the crushing weight of his hypnosis spell, the mercenaries' mental defenses start to shatter, but before anyone can react, a massive thorny root erupts from the concrete right beside them. Absolutely terrified, the beanie-wearing thug screams in panic, demanding to know what is happening to his boss, but Chen ignores their cries, unleashing his Soul Rest Enigma to target the leader's legs first. In a flash, a sharp vine pierces cleanly right through the leader's thigh, painting the floor red. Chen then calmly marks the hands as his next target. Another thorny branch thrusts upward, pinning the mercenary's palm to the ground so he can never threaten anyone ever again, making it pretty clear that this agonizing pain is exactly what they get for ever daring to lay a hand on his sister. Watching his partner get dismantled so easily like this, the beanie-wearing thug loses every single bit of his courage, screaming in absolute terror at the power standing right before him. With a bone-chilling stare, Chen tells him it is finally the survivor's turn, while the wooden roots coil closer to start the torture all over again. That threat breaks him instantly. Sobbing and begging for mercy, he confesses everything, blabbing that the mastermind behind the kidnapping is the son of the first hospital's director. Desperate to save his own skin, the thug shrieks out the client's name, Jin Duan. And check this out at 5 o'clock on a lavish rooftop at Purple Peak Tower. Jin Duan is lounging, totally unaware he's already been sold out. His rich friends start teasing him, laughing about how the legendary campus heartthrob got rejected twice by a single junior school girl. Jin Duan just fumes in silence, swearing that she made a complete fool of him in public, and promising himself that she is going to regret every single second of it tonight. Annoyed by the constant mocking, he snaps at a girl trying to follow him and storms off toward the restroom to clear his head. While he is standing at the urinal, the restroom lights start to flicker and buzz, catching his attention right away. Growling in frustration, he curses his luck, complaining that even the building's electricity is plotting against him tonight. Suddenly, a shadow looms. Jin Duan spins around to find Chen standing right behind him. Our boy calmly demands to know if he is indeed Jin Duan. Down in the surveillance room, the security guards are gossiping about how these rich kids bought out the entire top floor and turned off all the security cameras to party in private. One of the guards leans in, whispering a dark rumor that most of the girls up there did not come willingly, having been lured into a trap. Shocked by this, the other guard can barely believe his ears. The informant nods and explains that not very long ago, a student took her own life after being horribly abused at one of these parties, only for their wealthy parents to bury the entire scandal under a massive mountain of hush money. He warns his colleague never to be fooled by their expensive designer clothes and pretty faces, because behind closed doors, we both know these spoiled heirs are nothing but animals. Meanwhile, back in the restroom, Jin Duxin totally panics and demands to know who this intruder is, even threatening to call the police to throw him out. Instead of replying, Chen calmly pulls out a phone and makes a quick call. Jin Duxin freezes in pure terror as his own phone rings with an incoming call from his mercenary contact, Blackie. Holding the dead mercenary's phone, Chen glares right at him, confirming that Jin Duxin is indeed the monster who ordered the hit on Chen's sister. Horrified, Jin Duxin demands to know what happened to Blackie, but his answer comes when Chen effortlessly crushes the phone to pieces with crackling, terrifying lightning. Overcome with absolute terror, the spoiled heir backs away, screaming for the literal monster in front of him to stay back, desperately begging to know who he is dealing with. In an instant, Chen launches Jin Duxin straight through the bathroom glass window. Shattered shards rain down as the spoiled heir plunges directly onto the pool deck below. Bleeding and heavily bruised on the hard floor, Jin frantically shrieks for help, begging anyone to save him. And check out this chilling sight, every single one of his party guests is already floating face down or slumped over, completely unconscious. Chen steps out onto the deck, enveloped in a dark, incredibly ominous aura. Desperate to escape, Jin crawls backward on his hands and knees, cursing in sheer panic. Glaring up at the glowing eyes of his pursuer, he screams, demanding to know who Chen is, what he did to deserve this, and why he is being hunted. He desperately tries to play his final card, loudly bragging about his father's high status as director of the prestigious First Hospital. He frantically shrieks that if Chen lays even a single finger on him, his powerful dad will use all his massive influence to have him buried. Tired of these empty threats, Chen orders Jin to shut his mouth, instantly seizing control of the heir's mind with a hypnosis spell. Under the spell's powerful influence, Jin instantly collapses to his knees. Chen stares coldly at his puppet, ordering him to pick up a jagged piece of shattered glass. Right away, Jin reaches down and grabs the sharp shard. Honestly, it becomes clear that pure evil doesn't just hide inside dungeons. No, they walk right among regular people every day. Just look at the horrific crimes Jin committed against a defenseless student. These rich, spoiled punks use their massive wealth to sweep everything under the rug, forcing that poor girl to end her life. When the nightmare went down, they easily used their family's high connections to make sure none of the blame stuck to them. Jin even faked the medical reports to call it an accident, bragging that only the incredibly rich truly own this world. And he is the exact same dirtbag who paid those mercenaries a fortune to completely ruin his sister Si-Yoon's life. But this time, Jin made the mistake of targeting the wrong guy's sister. Controlling him like a puppet, Chen forces him to raise that sharp shard to his own neck. Chen is going to hunt down every single threat to his precious sister, even if he has to be the final executioner. He will walk straight through the absolute darkest depths of this world without a second thought. Chen commands his puppet to end it. Back inside the wild dungeon, right after their brutal tiebreaker clash, a victorious Chen looks down at his injured rival, Gong Ting. He calmly explains that the dungeon boss is dead and the path is open, telling him to just hold on for the rescue team. Grateful, Gong Ting promises that as soon as they escape, he will tell the whole world that Chen is the hero who saved everyone. But there is zero time to celebrate. Chen's senses suddenly flare up, and linking mentally with his beast Leo, he catches a terrifying vision. That creepy mercenary Blackie is actively hunting down his sweet sister, Si-Yun. Realizing she is in massive danger, Chen quickly triggers his incredible tamer skill, Stellar Warp, draining his mental energy to instantly teleport right out of the cave. Gong Ting is left staring at the empty air in utter shock. He finally puts it together. Chen isn't just a dual-class user, but is actually running multiple classes at once. It leaves him wondering just how many insane secrets his rival is keeping. Soon after, heavy footsteps echo through the dark tunnels as director Gong Shuen bursts inside with medics, frantically shouting to save the kids. The rescue crew rushes into the massive crater to treat Gong Ting. While they cast healing magic to stop the bleeding, Gong Shuen steps up. Staring down at his battered student, Gong Shuen breaks into a cold sweat, noting the dungeon boss possessed a pretty terrifying B- rank power. He tells Gong Ting that surviving is a total miracle. Nearby, other medics check on the remaining survivors, confirming that Sada Woda is stable and fully purified. Though physically safe, a highly traumatized Jasmine can only mutter in a daze about the horrific mental nightmares she barely survived. Gong Shuen suddenly notices that Chen is missing. When search teams find absolutely nothing, the director assumes the kids simply got scared and ran away, ordering his men to scout the area. Furious, Gong Shuen blames this whole disaster on the complete incompetence of the local inspection agency. He angrily yells that Gong Ting's injuries are their fault, promising to get every single inspector fired the moment they get back. Meanwhile, Gong Ting's calculating father, Gong Lin, looks at the bloody, chaotic scene and slowly smirks. Right away, he starts spinning a massive lie, framing the whole incident as a tragic outbreak that the examiners just couldn't control. Gong Lin plans to tell the entire world that his heroic son stepped up and saved everyone when all hope was gone. Racked with guilt over this stolen credit, Gong Ting tries to speak up and admit that Chen actually killed the boss. But his father shuts him up instantly by squeezing his fresh, bandaged shoulder wound, sending a jolt of intense pain through him. Whispering a dark threat, he tells Gong Ting that they are taking the credit while the witnesses stay quiet. He coldly commands his son clean up, because at tomorrow's big graduation ceremony, Gong Ting is going to step into the spotlight as the school's greatest hero. Later that evening in their rental apartment, the mood is so much happier. Over a hot dinner, Jutong excitedly congratulates Si-Yoon for passing her exam and getting into that prestigious Academy of Arts. Jutong is so thrilled for her friend, cheering that Si-Yoon is finally chasing her dreams to become a world-class artist. Meanwhile, Chen casually drinks his soda with a complete deadpan expression. Noticing his lack of hype, a pouting Si-Yoon asks why he looks so bored, like he already knew she would pass. Chen quickly smiles, assuring her that he is genuinely happy for her success. But in reality, he remembers his past life knowing she received her acceptance letter on this very day. Jutong admits she is pretty jealous, because studying in the elite city of Sanhaven is a rare opportunity that regular people can only dream of. But Seon worries about how incredibly far away Sanhaven is, not to mention the high cost of living. Seeing her hesitate, Chen steps in and tells her to completely forget about money or any other worries. Setting his soda bottle on the table, he calmly announces that once he graduates, he will be working in Sanhaven right alongside her. This news completely shocks both girls. They jump up, demanding to know how he got recruited by a Sanhaven guild when those groups only hire the absolute best. Thrilled by the news, Seon cheers because they can move to Sanhaven together, while Jutong complains about her jealousy, joking she will have to study hard to join them later. Watching his sister celebrate, Chen smiles warmly and makes a silent promise that in this lifetime, she will never have to sacrifice her dreams for anyone again. Later that night, Chen takes a quiet shower to wash away the day's exhaustion. He thinks about Porta's victories. His sister's stalkers are gone, and that stressful graduation exam is finally over. Best of all, his secret deal with Gong Ting is working perfectly. By letting his rival take the credit, Chen will receive the $1 million prize tomorrow, which is exactly what he needs to clear his family's debts. Relaxing in his room, he knows he cannot get comfortable just yet. He thinks about the Demon King wrath, realizing that if the Overlord was sealed upon entering the human world, the timeline has completely changed. His original 3-year timeline before the apocalypse is totally up in the air now, and get this, if he knew where the seal was, he'd break it himself, making finding Wrath his top priority so he can get to Sanhaven quickly. But before fighting a Demon King, Chen knows he needs a strong ally he can trust. Fortunately, tomorrow's graduation ceremony is the perfect place to recruit the exact person he needs. Meanwhile, in a quiet tea room, Student Council Vice President Ling Yu meets with Carl Cavendish, the Vice Chairman of the World Guild Alliance. She reports that a pretty dangerous rogue awakener called the Glutton was spotted in Everfield County, which immediately catches Carl's interest. Ling Yu explains that she rushed to the scene, but found the security cameras completely wiped. The only clues left behind were some fresh bloodstains and heavy scratch marks on the ground, matching the killer's usual routine of destroying and consuming victims. She warns Carl that this killer specifically targets elite awakeners with rare, powerful abilities, and the rank of the victims has been rising with every attack. This means the killer is stealing their strength and evolving rapidly by devouring increasingly powerful targets. Ling Yu warns that the glutton never stops once he targets an area, and she feels another attack is coming. Carl simply smirks, finding the timing of the monster's arrival quite interesting. Sliding a new file across the table, Ling Yu adds that the glutton's most recent attack took place in an alleyway within a low-income housing neighborhood. And wait until you hear this, the exact murder scene is less than 100 meters from Chen's own apartment. Although they have no photos of the glutton, Ling Yu notes that Chen's power has been growing at an impossibly fast rate. But before she can finish speaking, Carl smirks, suggesting that the power-devouring glutton is actually Chen himself. At the academy, Principal Yuan Long's assistant asks why he is skipping the graduation ceremony for the very students he helped raise. Yuan Long smiles and explains that he only wanted to give his students a safe place to grow when they were weak, but now they have finally grown up. With that, he releases his birds out the window, saying it is time for them to go out and find their own paths. However, he notices one stubborn bird staying behind in the cage, making him wonder where it actually wants to go. Over at the massive graduation hall, Malong and Shang Zuo stare in awe at the huge venue. Realizing the academy went all out to welcome the major guild leaders, Malong wonders how Chen and Gong Ting did in their secret trial, and while the twins discuss the academy's strict rules, Malong proudly brags that Lu Shang definitely crushed the competition. But suddenly, Gong Ting's brother, Gong Chang, tells Malong to shut up and stop hyping up Chen. He laughs and claims that Chen has zero chance of winning, insisting that his brother, Gong Ting, is guaranteed to walk away as the champion. Annoyed by his arrogance, the group starts trading thumbs down and petty insults back and forth. Behind the scenes of the grand ceremony, Gong Lin looks around and notes that every major guild in the country has sent a representative. Since the entire board of the prestigious Imperial Guild is attending, the crowd outside is already buzzing with excitement to see these legendary figures. Imperial Guild co-founder Guam Yuan and the founder Titan Ming make their grand entrance to greet the elite guests, prompting Gong Lin to quietly plot his move for the board election. He plans to use this exact ceremony to win over undecided board members and finally break that dead-even tie. Doing this will let Gong Lin grab that highly coveted chairman's seat. He even assures his son Gong Ting that Carl Cavendish, the vice chairman of the Global Guild Alliance, he'll hand him the trophy. Personally, this marks the start of their rise to the absolute top, but he sternly warns Gong Ting not to screw this up, ordering him to go out there, give a flawless speech, and show everyone his worth. Suffocating under his father's intense pressure, Gong Ting stays silent, clenching his fists so tightly that his suit fabric wrinkles. Right on cue, the host steps onto the main stage to kick off the highly anticipated 2157th National Awakener University graduation ceremony. As she announces the final assessment is officially over, Ma Long and the twins in the crowd instantly light up with pure excitement. Now that all the powerful board members and school officials are seated, the historic ceremony officially begins. The entire auditorium erupts into roaring applause, but while Gong Ting sits in tense silence, Chen calmly watches everything unfold. Next, the announcer walks onto the stage to officially reveal the final results of this grueling, hellish assessment. She points straight to that gleaming gold trophy waiting on stage for the ultimate champion. She then introduces the special guest presenter, inviting Carl Candish, the vice chairman of the Global Guild Alliance, to step forward. Under the bright spotlights and loud applause, Carl Candish steps up, ready to announce the winner of the grand award. He starts by thanking the Imperial Guild for the invitation, saying it is a real honor to witness this next generation of elite talent. Now, look at this. He grabs everyone's attention by hinting that something highly unexpected went down during that final test. Caught off guard, Ma Long and the twins freeze. He drops a massive bombshell, revealing that the low-level D-rank dungeon assigned for the exam was actually a highly dangerous, disguised B-rank dungeon. This shocking news sends a wave of panic through the crowd, with people whispering that even professional teams struggle with B-rank threats. How did they survive? Nobody knows. Carl Candish goes on to explain that when all hope seemed lost, one heroic student used flawless technique to pull off the absolute impossible. A single warrior did the impossible, defeated the B-rank boss and brought his entire team back alive. As a calm Chen and Gong Ting listen from the crowd, Carl Candish gets ready to name the strongest graduate of their generation. He raises his arm and officially crowns Gong Ting as the undisputed champion of the year. Confetti rains down as a serious Gong Ting stands up to accept the crowd's roaring applause. Complete chaos. Ma Long and Shang Zuo are losing it, absolutely convinced that the results must have been rigged for Chen to lose. Seeing this, Gong Chang immediately starts gloating, rubbing the victory in their faces and bragging that his brother is simply built different. The surrounding students are left in awe, murmuring that clearing a B-rank dungeon alone is on an entirely different level compared to their own struggles. The crowd continues to go wild, showering Gong Ting with praises for his legendary strength and looks. As Gong Ting slowly climbs the stage stairs, a calm Chen silently watches him from his seat. Looking back, Gong Ting instantly remembered their secret deal in the dark cave, where Chen offered him first place in exchange for the entire $1 million prize money. One condition, he vividly recalled it, which was to never tell anyone about his hidden demonic class transformation. Back in the present, Chen watches quietly, curious to see how his rival will handle the stolen spotlight. Standing there, facing the massive crowd, Gong Ting is haunted by his father's harsh warning to give a flawless speech and show everyone his true worth. The announcer then warmly welcomes Gong Ting to the microphone to deliver his champion's speech. The crowd instantly falls in love with him, praising his calm and dignified look, calling him a true hero in the making. They whisper that he is a worthy heir to the prestigious Gong family with a limitless future, which makes a proud Gong Lin smile in approval. Looking at his notes, he bitterly questions himself. Is this stolen glory his actual worth? He begins his speech by acknowledging that the vice chairman was absolutely right about the heroic feats of surviving a hopeless fight, saving the team, and defeating the boss. But get ready, because right here, he drops the ultimate bombshell. None of those legendary deeds were his, because it was actually all Chen. This sudden confession catches everyone off guard, leaving both Chen and Carl Candish completely speechless. Hearing this, Gong Lin loses his mind, fuming with rage as he watches his son throw away their family's carefully crafted glory. Meanwhile, Gong Chang panics, screaming in total disbelief at his brother's crazy choice while the students whisper around them. Gong Ting continues. He explains how the exam went totally sideways, leaving only him and Chen to fight when the examiners were knocked out. He even calls Chen a genius lightning assassin, a complete monster who wiped out waves of high-level beasts with pure combat instinct. Seeing his rival fight showed him what peak power really looks like, and he admits he's never witnessed anything like it. He crowns Chen the rightful winner. Our boy is just glad his secret double class is still safe. Mass panic breaks out in the arena as people start calling the academy corrupt, wondering if this whole exam was rigged. But instead of getting mad, Carl just grins, absolutely loving the drama. Seeing an opening, Ma Long and Shang Zuo demand a full investigation, certain their friend was being held back. Behind closed doors, the guild masters sit in dead silence, trying to process this sudden mess ruining their perfect event. Guam Yuan wants answers now. He tells Gong Lin they owe the crowd a real explanation. But refusing the public shame, Gong Lin scoffs and storms out, leaving the chaos behind. Left alone on stage, Gong Ting rips up his prepared speech, finished with letting his dad run his life. Meanwhile, in his office, Principal Yuan Long watches his captive bird fly free, perfectly mirroring Gong Ting's decision to finally choose his own path. Seeing the bird fly away, the old man smiles, genuinely happy his student has found his true calling. Gong Ting smirks, officially handing this round over to Chen, promising he will be the one winning next time. Now, to understand the stakes, you need to know that thousands of guilds worldwide are split into 5 tiers. While the top ones are legendary, elite guilds are the absolute peak for top hunters, with only 12 existing worldwide, including the Imperial Guild. Down on the recruitment floor, regular graduates are desperately begging agents to take a quick glance at their resumes. But the massive Divine Eye Guild instantly shuts them down, telling them they aren't looking for support players and to scram. In this brutal market, average fighters can't even get one single offer. But everything flips if you get a call from an elite group. Moments later, the Imperial Guild's recruiter, Charleston, hands a contract to Malong, welcoming him to their famous ranks. The twins, Shang Zuo and Shang Yu, celebrate landing spots in research, while a terrified Malong freaks out over being put on combat duty. Stepping inside the massive headquarters, the crew can barely contain their hype about joining one of the 12 elite guilds on Earth. Nearby, their classmates watch in absolute regret, hating themselves for turning down a spot on Chen's squad. Even Gong Chung is seething, hating that he has to see these losers at the office every single day. Meanwhile, up in the executive elevator, Titan Ming asks about their recruitment numbers. Learning those double perfect scores let them hire more rookies. As the steel doors slide open to reveal Carl, Titan Ming warmly greets the vice chairman, asking if he is also heading down to recruitment. Carl admits he came to personally see someone off, making Titan Ming realize the big boss is closely tracking their new rookie. Carl just chuckles, saying the Imperial Guild landed a crazy talent and got incredibly lucky this year. Over at the desks, Charleston scrolls through the system and realizes one last rookie hasn't handed in his papers yet. Irritated, the manager barks at Malong, demanding to know why their star rookie, Chen, is wasting everyone's time, delaying the process. Realizing his captain is totally gone, a panicked Malong frantically scans the crowd, shouting his name. Right then, Chen casually strolls back from the restroom, only to get instantly chewed out by his stressed-out crew. Watching this, Charleston mutters about cocky rookies who already think they can play hard to get. He barks at the graduate, reminding him that even the top scorer follows the rules, so hurry up and sign. Without missing a beat, Chen calmly drops a bomb he has zero intention of joining them, sparking total chaos. The sudden rejection sends absolute shockwaves through the hall, leaving his arrogant classmate Gong Chung totally speechless. The whole room erupts as everyone whispers, wondering why any sane hunter would reject this dream offer, leaving even the bosses stunned. Furious, he slams his desk. Charleston yells that they offered him a prestigious senior position and opportunity veterans would absolutely die for. However, Chen directly reminds the manager that he never actually agreed to sign any papers, leaving the fuming recruiter demanding to know his real business here. But check this out. Carl Cavendish steps forward at the perfect moment, and the crowd instantly recognizes the legendary leader. The surrounding graduates quickly bow down in respect, wondering what could possibly bring the World Alliance vice chairman all the way to this busy registration hall. Carl goes straight to Chen. He offers him an alternative to the Imperial Guild, asking if he wants to move to Sandhaven with him. He even offers to personally nominate Chen for the Ember Star Knights, shocking both Gong Ting and Titan Ming. Instantly, the entire hall erupts into loud whispers at the very mention of the Ember Star Knights, a name usually reserved only for major global headlines. Graduates whisper that only 6 peak guilds globally have enough rumored power to level an entire nation if they wanted to. On top of that, these legendary god-tier groups never recruit publicly, relying solely on private invitations and personal referrals. Yet unmoved by this amazing offer, Chen politely declines, explaining he is actually there to recruit teammates for his very own organization. Can you imagine? Malong and the twins freeze in shock, realizing their friend has somehow already founded his own group. Snatching his card away, Charleston mocks the very idea of a rookie running a startup. Reading the name Black Raven Guild aloud with a sneer, he yells that registering a new guild is strictly restricted and incredibly expensive. It also requires a formal referral that a rookie graduate could never get anyway. The manager scoffs, demanding to know how a kid fresh out of school with zero backing could pull off such a feat. But the reception desk quickly chimes in, confirming that the official database lists the Black Raven Guild as a fully legitimate organization, freezing Charleston in shock. The registry confirms the guild was registered on May 18th, approved on June 18th, and lists Chen as its legal representative. Hearing that registration date, Gong Ting does some quick math in his head and is instantly taken aback by the timeline. He realizes that Chen was already setting up his own organization a full month before their final graduation exam even began. Then everything clicks. Chen only cared about winning the prize money to fund his startup, not because he wanted the empty glory of first place. From the very beginning, the elite Imperial Guild was never even on Chen's radar because his focus was entirely set on launching his own group. Looking at the calm graduate, the recruiters realized that Chen never sought their approval because he operates on a completely different level. Carl Cavendish chuckles, noting that Chen and his sister really are cut from the same cloth, sharing a fiercely independent streak. Chen then reminds everyone that a guild needs 2 members to run dungeons, pointing out his group currently only has him. Turning straight to his rival, Chen holds out a recruitment card and invites Gong Ting to be his very first member in the Black Raven Guild. Just a week before graduation, Chen met with Qing Jir at the Mithril Exchange to share 2 important updates. First, he asked for a 1-week extension on his debt because tying for first place meant he missed the full cash prize, leaving him 500,000 short. But this money problem was absolutely nothing compared to his second update, which was far more serious. He revealed that he actually traveled back in time 10 years from the future, explaining that a group of powerful demon kings would eventually destroy the world, leaving him as the only surviving hero. Chen then described how the apocalypse began, explaining how the first demon king, Wrath, used destructive energy waves to tear the earth apart. He went on to explain that a brilliant inventor named Qing Jir stepped up to save humanity by creating and donating a special defensive tool called the Stillstone. Thanks to this invention, humanity managed to survive Wrath's deadly waves, buying survivors enough time to gather their strength and fight back. Hearing this, Qing Jir stood up in pure shock, because while the Stillstone was designed to block wave magic, the device was currently just an unshared idea in his own head, proving that Chen was telling the truth. Chen immediately invited Qing Jir to join his team and work for him. On June 26th, after receiving the full debt payment, Qing Jir happily returned Chen's weapon to him inside the Mithril Exchange archive room. To cover the interest, Chen also pulls a pouch of rare materials from his inventory and drops premium loot like poison cage, ant legs, mantis spikes, and a rare snake gall onto the table. Qing Jir is thrilled with the high-quality haul and praises his partner, but Chen casually brushes it off, explaining he was in a hurry and could only grab those few items. Qing Jir then asks how recruitment is going for the new Black Raven Guild. Chen admits his top recruit turned him down. This shocks Qing Ji, who thinks this setback will stall Chen's move to the elite city of Sanhav. But Chen reveals he is fast-tracking his timeline. His plan to save the world has 3 phases, starting off pretty simply. First, build a basic guild from scratch. Then, level up to gold status to unlock those S-rank dungeon runs. Finally, he plans to head to Sanhaven, find the dungeon holding the Demon King of Wrath, and take him down early. But get this, chaos completely wrecks his calculations, and Chen warns that Wrath might have already spawned way sooner than in his previous life. He must reach Sanhaven immediately and find his crew there, leaving Qing Ji absolutely stunned by how messy this situation is getting. Wanting to help, Qing Ji pulls out a tiny digital music player, hoping his quick prep turns the tide. He explains that a producer friend cooked up a catchy pop track laced with a special beta frequency, even partnering with global icon Michael Bruno. The pop star will drop the track as a lead single, spreading the frequency worldwide in a week. He explains that since this frequency can neutralize Wrath's mind-controlling mental ripples, broadcasting the song is easily their most efficient quick defense system. Chen is totally blown away. His partner built a global defense system in only 7 days, while Qing Ji calmly adjusts his glasses, proud to help stop the end times. Before Chen can even process this, his partner drops another massive surprise. Activating his storage ring, Qing Ji projects a custom smartwatch onto Chen's wrist, explaining he built it to track S-rank monsters and their past locations. He proudly explains this unique prototype is the ultimate weapon for hunting Wrath. Honestly, Chen is shocked that the radar easily outperforms his own system. Realizing his partner is a flat-out genius, Qing Ji admits he wishes he had combat powers to fight on the front lines. But Chen quickly reassures him, telling him his tech help is already priceless, promising to handle all the actual combat himself. Even so, Chen stays on high alert, knowing Wrath is just the vanguard of the upcoming invasion, and resolves to dig up more intel on this Demon King. Later that rainy night at a hospital, the spoiled heir Jin Duxin is locked in a padded cell, drooling heavily from Cen's hypnosis. While his furious father, Ronald Jin, watches, the angry patriarch demands to know who dared to crush his family's pride and ruin his boy. He immediately orders a squad of elite A-rank awakeners to hunt down the culprit and make them pay. Taking the contract, the lead assassin reveals a glowing energy blade hidden inside his umbrella, confidently promising to deliver the target's head today. Now the mood instantly shifts. A massive pressure rattles the room, forcing the director to his knees. As heavy footsteps shake the floor, the elite mercenaries instantly sense an insanely powerful presence heading straight their way. As the beast nears the door, the hunters ready their elemental magic and guns, bracing for a brutal fight. In a flash, the demon appears right inside the room, grinning as he declares it is feeding time, revealing himself as VORALOON, the Demon King of Gluttony.